It's simple questions. It's not. They're not grilling. They just want to kind of understand something. They don't ask the same questions. Thanks so much. Okay. She's your lady.
Joseph is the representative from the Kremlin, and he is here to
I
answer.
said, now that's something I can't stop. I can get you a big print.
I invited him at the commission's request, several commissioners asked.
He's on the agenda somewhere, visitors or?
Visitors.
Yeah, he's the first one.
There we go.
I did, yeah. You'll still need to make a motion on it. I saw it. That's the one.
I'll take Haley's up to her.
All right, Mr. Clerk, does it look like we have a quorum?
All right. Ready to get started?
Yes, sir. Well, let's make sure I've got my right agenda. Hold on, I got to get the correct agenda up here. I've got the previous meeting's agenda. Here we are. Okay. All right, everybody. It is 3:31 on January 20th. We're going to call this Caddo Parish Commission regular session to order. Mr. Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. And just as you just noted, for any commissioners who may not have switched over, you did have a property standards hearing agenda open above your agenda for this meeting. So if that one's showing, just close it out and your other one should be open right behind it. Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson. Okay, I'm counting 7 present and 5 absent. I will note that at least 2 of those who are absent at the moment are on site. I'm sorry, 8
There's
present.
8, Mr. Clerk. Yes,
8 present, 4 absent, and there are 2 members who are here in the building that just aren't out here yet.
Okay, well, we'll continue with our agenda while we wait for them to return to the chambers. Commissioner Chavez, would you please lead us in an invocation? And then following that, Commissioner Epperson, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Everybody please stand.
All right, everyone, please bow. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. This is the day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Heavenly Father, I pray for all the people in Caddo Parish that are stricken with illness, that you put your hand upon them and get them well. Heavenly Father, also for the cold that is going to come tonight and this weekend, that the people find shelter and that the neighbors remember theirs next door and they take care of them as well. Thank you for the parish and the work that we are able to do here. May our work be pleasing in your sight. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's all turn and face the flag while we are repeating the pledge of allegiance in unison. Let us think about our POW and our MIAs. There are still some that have not accounted for from foreign wars, plus there are still those that made the ultimate sacrifice that are on foreign land and still need to be brought home. And also, if you have a flag at your personal business or home, it is certainly permissible to fly a POW MIA flag under the United States of America flag. All military and veterans render the standard hand to brow salute. All others, hand across your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez, for that invocation, and thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for that pledge.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any agenda additions?
I'm not aware of any unless you have any today.
Okay, that takes us to citizens' comments.
Citizens' comments, where citizens are asked to fill out a comment card and submit it either to the president or to the clerk here in this basket. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and I believe we have returned a few requests for citizens' comments.
I'm sorry, what was that last statement?
I said, I believe you you have received a few
Yes.
of those requests that we
Yes,
received.
I have 4 requests for citizens' comments in person. Looks like we have 5 now, if you look above you. So we will take these people in person, and then based on how much time we have, we will read some that have been submitted via email. So with that being said, Ms. Rebecca Farr, could you please come up and discuss property rights with us? You can pull
Hello.
that down, Ms. Farr, if you need to.
My name is Rebecca Farr. I live at 7889 Tillman's Trail, Shreveport, Louisiana. I live in a rural, unincorporated area. I have talked with a couple of you commissioners personally. I have emailed all of you. I have gotten 2 or 3 responses, which I really, really appreciate. And I just wanted to first say that I appreciate all of you for taking on this task and trying to serve the constituents of your district. We really appreciate your work. On top of that, I feel that some of you are fairly new commissioners, and so you're going to have quite a task at hand trying to possibly change or fix some of the things that other commissioners have done in the past that I do not feel is to the benefit of all of your constituents. Because I live in a rural, unincorporated area, I am absolutely opposed to the master plan adoption, the Unified Development Code adoption, and also having anything to do with the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission. I understand that it used to be Shreveport Caddo, and it has changed now to just Shreveport, if I understand correctly. And I'm really hoping that we can come to a resolution that will benefit all of us rural residents. I understand that there needs to be certain land use and zoning restrictions, guidelines, ordinances, things of that nature. I live in a residential agriculture zoned area, and of course I want it to remain that way. I do not want, you know, some commercial or industrial development right down the street from me. So I understand we have to have something, but I'm just really hoping and praying that we can come to a reasonable solution that will be a compromise for everyone, and put together a board that will, you know, just look out for everyone, and we can all have a peaceful resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farr. Okay, we have Mr. Paul Pratt regarding Resolution 84, which is the oil and gas proposal.
Good afternoon. Paul Pratt, 935 East 70th. I rise again today regarding Resolution 84 to respectfully ask that you strap this particular resolution or remand it back to the Natural Resources Committee. This is a very restrictive resolution, and it sends the wrong message to the operators that are willing to come and invest in our community. Everything that we see here in this resolution falls under the purview of the Department of Natural Resources. That's why this resolution is really not needed. The best thing for us to do is to sit in the room along with the operators as well as the Department of Natural Resources and the Office of Conservation and work out a plan, because this is a partnership, not only a partnership between the commission, but partnership between the landowners also. Again, this is very restrictive. It's probably most restrictive in the nation. Operators have the opportunity to go other places. The Haynesville Shale has looked at over 1 million acres of natural resources right here in Louisiana and East Texas. And so when companies or putting their money out or their capital outlay, they go to areas that governmental agencies as well as Department of Natural Resources are willing to work with them, not put further restrictions on them. So again, I ask that you return this to the Natural Resource Committee for more work, and let's work on it together. My promise to you, I get the operators in the room if you're willing to sit down and work with us, because no one wants to make our citizens sick or have to deal with noise. Another very restrictive thing is nighttime fracking, the elimination of it. What it does is prolongs the noise. It's usually a 10-day process, but if a company has to take their pipe out every night, that goes to their costs as well as safety issues. So again, nobody wants to hurt or harm our environment or our landowners. So let's work together on making this a better document. And right now, I don't think we should send this to the Department of Natural Resources. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Mr. Glenn Moore to discuss the same topic.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Glenn Moore, 71119, District Number 12. Mr. Ken Epperson is our Commissioner. No disrespect to the gentleman that just spoke, but I think that the Resolution 84 is not restrictive. I think it's a fair written resolution that will protect the residents in our communities, especially our health and the welfare of all that are concerned in close proximity to these oil platforms that are being put into our communities. Now, I know in the past, a lot of those platforms were put out in rural areas. But when you come into an urban area, I feel that we need to have tighter restrictions because we're dealing with people's health and our well-being and also our property values. And we don't want those depleted in our communities. And anytime you're around a lot of people, I think that needs to be put into effect. So once again, I would like to encourage all of the commissioners to vote to pass this resolution so we can continue to debate it and come up with sensible rules and regulations that will allow the people in our communities to be able to exist. And we just don't want to have companies come in and feel that they can do whatever they want in our communities. We live there. They don't. They'll come and drill in your neighborhoods, and after so many days or months, they're gone. But we're still there, and we still have to deal with any and all of the effects that fracking performed in our neighborhoods is going to leave behind. Especially, we're very concerned about our well water. A few of my residents on my street, they use their well water for drinking, and we're very afraid that it's going to get contaminated. And also, all the trees that they removed, and this well, by the way, is right behind my house, so I'm very concerned. And all the trees that they remove, the wildlife has been dispersed, and it makes it very uneasy to be living in that community. So once again, I just want to encourage all of the commissioners, please vote in favor of Resolution 84. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Ms. Pearson regarding Ford Street. Thank you for coming down again, Ms. Pearson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Atkins, and to the other commissioners. I'm here to speak again on resolution number 11, which involves Ford Street. We're asking that you would approve resolution number 11, which would get the ball rolling to repair Ford Street. I won't be redundant and repeat everything that is wrong with the street. I'm sure that everybody would agree that it does need to be repaired. It affects numerous citizens of Freeport that you represent. After listening to all of the speakers on Tuesday, I get it. I understand that there's a process that will involve the cooperation of the state, the parish, and the city. It was indeed stated that the bridge on 4th Street would not be a problem for the next 100 years, so there's no need to talk about that, in my opinion. And we know that the parish won't be responsible for the lights and the sidewalks, so there's no need to talk about that either, in my opinion. However, there is a need to talk about your responsibilities as a public servant to all of the citizens of Caddo Parish. This situation may not involve some of the people in the district that you represent, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a responsibility to make sure that you do your part and given a care about the other citizens in other districts and what's happening in their districts. So your vote to approve this resolution is crucial to the improvement of the community that I live in, the Allendale community. So we, the people, the citizens of Caddo Parish, are putting our trust in you to be good stewards of your voting power. We know that the road won't be done overnight, but your vote today hopefully will help get it done sooner than later. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. And Mr. Greg Oliver regarding 4th Street resolution.
Good evening. Greg
Thank you.
Oliver from the Mount Canaan Baptist Church. I serve there as pastor. It sits in the heart of Allendale. It's 1666 Alston Street, which is adjacent to 4th Street. And I'm asking you to strongly consider approving resolution number 11. We have we have maybe about 250 cars on Sunday morning that will come down 4th Street to attend our worship setting. And then maybe about 50 on Wednesday nights, and then every day during the week we'll have some others who come and their cars are needing to be repaired, driving on that simple road right there on 4th Street. And I had a conversation with a parishioner before I came to Shreveport. I was in Monroe, and I want to remind you of this. And that parishioner was willing not to vote for who we thought would have been the best person for the position. They were willing to vote for somebody else, and this is the reason they said. This is from Monroe. They said, well, we're voting for the other guy because one day during a storm, he came out with his boots and helped clear the drain. They were, regardless of the rest of their political agenda, this person was willing to vote for this person because they saw them come out and do something as simple as clear a drain. Now imagine what that person might say about voting for one of you if you do something about a complete street. Please consider. That's a major thoroughfare as well. I think somebody said the other day about 6,000, more than 6,000 cars a day, believe it or not, will travel down 4th Street. That's a major thoroughfare to our city from 220. So please consider that. That's a smooth transition from 220 to downtown Shreveport. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor Oliver.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, I believe that's all we have in person, but I believe we received several emails. However, I'm gonna refer to Ms. Frazier, and Ms. Frazier, I know that, what is there, a limit of 5 people on any one topic?
I believe that is correct, or actually it's 5 speakers and 15 minutes.
All right, so it's the time that takes precedent, not the people?
Right.
Okay.
And just as a note, it was requested by a commissioner that I share some of these emails. I did ask if it was okay if I share a sampling of those emails and then let you all know the total number that were received. So in total, we received 50 similar emails to this, and if it's okay, I'll read a sampling of those right now, and then we can move on. Okay, the first comes from Ms. Marvelyn Jones. It says, please approve resolution number 11. Ford Street is in deplorable condition, especially the area of Ford Street between St. Luke and Pierre Avenue. Since Ford Street is a highly traveled primary route westward from downtown Shreveport, more attention should be given to its maintenance. The approval of Resolution 11 is an absolute necessity. Let's see, next comes from Mr. Frederick Dangerfield, who writes, I've been living in Allendale 63 years, and Ford Street is awful and does need repairing. Also, Leroy Street in front of the church there has big potholes that's damaging people going to church, which Sportran also has to use both streets to get to their terminal. Thanks for your concern. Let's see, the next comes from Shirley Mandingo, who writes, hello, my name is Shirley Mandingo, and I'm pleading with you to ensure that resolution number 11 is approved so that 4th Street is brought up to decent drivable standards. I do not live in this area, but I frequently attend the Mount Canaan Baptist Church, and the need to do something about Ford Street is way past due. I just had to replace my tires because my car was out of line, mostly due to awful roads all over Shreveport, definitely including Ford Street. Please approve resolution number 11. The next one I have is from Miss Orlisha Nash, who writes, I am writing in reference to Ford Street and the horrible condition it is in. Something has to be done immediately to repair this street. It is a main street to the downtown area and traveled by many. I attend church at Mount Canaan Baptist Church at 1666 Ashton. I travel from Cooper Road, and this is the only way that I can travel to attend church services. There's a lot of wear and tear on my car twice a week traveling down Ford Street, and God forbid if I travel additional days down this street. I'm asking you to pass resolution number 11 so that Ford Street will get some type of repair. And then, let's see, another one comes from Ms. Faith Johnson, who writes, this email is written to request the support of Caddo Parish Commission by approving resolution number 11. Ford Street, a state highway, has not been repaired in 15 years. It is imperative that the city of Shreveport fix the water lines underneath Ford Street so the state will start the process of greater repair. I frequent this road on a weekly basis, 2 to 3 times per week en route to participate in various church activities in the area. Ford Street is in deplorable condition and needs immediate attention. An effort to repair the street will show a good faith on the part of the leadership of this city. The Allendale community and its citizens are more than deserving of an upgrade to Ford Street. Therefore, your commitment to the community by approving resolution number 11 is greatly appreciated. I believe that's 4 that I've read, or and so I'll include one more. Okay, so we got some time. Thank you. This one comes from Miss Frances Powell, who writes, my name is Frances Powell, and I grew up in Allendale, just off of Ford Street and Perrin Street. I travel Ford Street several times a week and have noticed how badly that road is in need of repair. As of lately, I drive on the opposite side of the road, barring traffic, to keep from tearing my vehicle up. This is unacceptable. There is no other area in town that I travel that is as bad as this section of Ford Street in question. I remember Greenwood Road, also a state highway, was the same way, and it took forever for the road to be repaired, but finally it got done. I'm asking you to approve resolution number 11 so that the ball can get rolling on fixing this street. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. And that's signed Frances Powell. So that was a sampling of 5 of the.
Okay, Commissioner Clark, thank you very much, Mr. Everson. I think you picked some good examples. There's 50, that's 50 messages and email with very similar messages encouraging the repair of Ford Street. So let's make sure that's on the record. 50 emails were sent in supporting a repair of Ford Street.
Mr. Clerk, Mr. President, I would ask that we enter all of those public comments into the record, and that is encouraging approval of resolution number 11, to be specific.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. I was going to say we will attach all of them to the record so that they can all be made part of the permanent record.
Is that good with you, Commissioner?
And that's approval of resolution number 11.
Yes, they all 50 or so, maybe a couple more than 50 by now, were in support of the adoption of resolution number 11. So that sampling that we read represents about 10% of what we received.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You good there, Commissioner Jackson? Okay. All right, Commissioner Clark, thank you for that. That takes us to visitors. I'll let you get called up.
Today you have 2 visitors on your schedule. The first is we have a representative from the North Louisiana Criminalistics Laboratory. I believe Mr. Joseph Jones is here with us today. And as you'll recall, typically at the end of the year, either your last meeting of the year or your first meeting of the next year, you adopt a budget for the North Louisiana Criminalistics Laboratory. And during that process, many commissioners expressed an interest in hearing directly from a representative from the North Louisiana Crime Lab. And we reached out to them, and that's Mr. Jones is here with us today.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Mr. Jones. Thanks for coming down. I think the main reason that that your organization was brought to our attention was that there was a large deficit in its budget, and we just were wondering what might be going on over there to cause such a large deficit, and it was going to pretty much erode your whole fund balance.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and certainly, Mr. Atkins, thank you, and thank you to each one of you for the invitation to come out and speak. I have been on the road for almost 6 weeks meeting with various legislators all over North Louisiana in regards to this issue, and so it's a privilege. Thank you. I'll explain to you a little bit about how our crime lab system receives revenue, which is somewhat untraditional. What you might not realize, well, we do have, and our headquarters is here in Shreveport. We also have laboratories in West Monroe and also Alexandria, and we serve the northern 29 parishes as part of the Criminalistics Commission here. Our revenue comes directly from court costs, and so what you all have been seeing, and I'm glad you have noticed, it's that over the last 2 years, directly related to COVID and court cases not going to trial, our sources of revenue have dried up. And for us, over the last 5 years, we have seen a continued decline where we had an operating revenue of around $5.8 million in 2017 to what you saw this past year, where we forecast it to probably be around in the $3.5 million range. I shared down with some of our state representatives at a commission hearing at the end of November that it's somewhat awkward for a crime lab because we really do operate a lot like a church in that our money directly just comes in the mail, and it's whatever we receive from the courts. There's really not a system for us to know whether or not we're actually receiving what we should be receiving, but nevertheless it's become problematic for us. I'm particularly grateful to locally our Senator Peacock, Senator Tarver, and Representatives Presley and certainly Jenkins. They're helping me with a state where we're trying to come up with a long-term solution for this crime lab that is a different revenue stream than this because it does not have a long-term potential for the laboratory. And I'm very, very excited because they're taking it very seriously, and certainly during the legislative session, it's something we hope to remedy.
Okay, thank you. I see, well, he's not on the board, but I saw Commissioner Burrell request to ask a question. Mr. Clerk, I'm not sure our board is working right now, but go ahead, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very familiar with it. I was a state legislator when we got it built, and keeping the money in the budget in order to the capital outlay budget in order to get it built. It took forever to get that place built over there. My question is, one of the issues we were having at that time, it was that all the autopsies and things of that nature was actually being shipped to, I think, Little Rock or some other places. With that, I'll assume that we were paying monies to do that, because I'm sure that they didn't do it for free. Those monies now are captured back in our state. That does not, does that supplement what you do? I know that may not be a major cost, because I never did determine what the cost was. But now that we're capturing those dollars, is that supplementing your budget?
Mr. Burrell, you asked the second most important question, is what about pathology? What about autopsies? I should preface this that I started here with the crime lab right before COVID. I was brought in by our commission from the state of Ohio. And so I'll be honest with you, that forensic science center that's here in this parish was a big recruiting tool. They didn't have to ask me too hard to come down and take this job.
Beautiful facility.
Autopsies are not occurring at the facility, and that is because of a contractual arrangement that exists between the commission and LSU Health. And that contract is specific that LSU has to provide the pathologist for us to operate. I am not allowed to go out and hire a forensic pathologist. This is a problem, and cases are still being shipped outside of our state to this. This is also why I'm really excited that our local legislators are helping with this, and Senator Peacock in particular is assisting right now to help us come up with a good reason to get them over, or allow us to hire outside of theirs. I cannot speak directly for LSU Health, but running these laboratories across the country, what many people don't realize is that pathology services are a dog. You don't make a whole lot of money out of it. And I would imagine that whenever Oshner took over LSU, they didn't see it as a profitable venture. And that's part of what we're running into with them.
So you're saying that they are still contracting out autopsies?
Correct.
To places like Little Rock and other places?
Yes, sir.
They're not doing any of it here?
Yes, sir, and I'm very confident that this year you will see the first autopsy occur in this facility. And it needs to happen. It's what the building was designed for. And I think that if we are allowed to go out and hire with that facility, we can start earning some more revenue through that.
Well, I'm hoping that you do. I think that we invested enough money in the facility, and it is a state-of-the-art facility, that we should be able to do more things here. That was one of the reasons why I understood that they built it. The other interest that I have in it, because it's also in my commission district, it was in my legislative district, was to look at internships for forensics. I fought that battle there a couple of years, but somehow, you know, forensics is a growing area of science, and but you all do not deal with any type of program to help educate some of our youngsters here in that area, and I'm not sure why, but I would like for you to look at it. Let me just put it that way.
That's great advice, and again, Mr. Burrell, I think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of things. We started an internship program last January after I took this job, and during this time we're hoping to build and foster a relationship with Grambling University. Quite frankly, some of our best employees have come out of Grambling, and this is something that we hope to grow. Since this time, we've had 5 interns that have come through that are from areas in North Louisiana. We've also been able to expand outside to get some of the best talent in here. Currently at the laboratory, we have 2 interns working. And so I agree with you. I think that's part of the Forensic Science Center that Shreveport North Louisiana in general can be an epicenter of high-quality education for youth here.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we went a little bit off, but
Okay,
this
thank
is a
you.
very important area of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. The board's not working. Does anyone else have another question for Mr. Jones?
Mr. Epperson was on board.
No, I'm just testing to see if it works.
Okay. Mr. Jones, thank you so much. We hope that you all find a solution for this problem. We wish you the best of luck with that, and thank you for what you all do at the Crime Lab.
Thank you each for your time. Appreciate it.
The next speaker that you have on your agenda today is Grace Project, who I believe is going to be represented by Mr. Calvin Lester. There he is.
Hello, Mr. Lester.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members. If I could take this mask off. Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you about our organization, Grace Project Incorporated. Specifically, I want to respond to a poorly written, misleading article written by John Settle, where he infers that I received parish funds requested by Grace Project as part of our NGO application. This is 100% false. As is his usual, Mr. Settle reported some of the facts and conveniently left off others, particularly relating to Grace Project's 990, which are publicly accessible through the internet, though some were provided to him by us. Instead of using my time to point out Mr. Settle's misrepresentations of Grace Project as a needy organization, I want to take a moment to speak about who Grace Project is. The Old Testament records the story of Nehemiah, the prophet, who, when told of the conditions of his hometown in Jerusalem, first cried, then went to the king to request leave and assistance in rebuilding the walls of the city. While rebuilding the walls, Nehemiah encountered naysayers in his own community as well as enemies of the people. Rather than be dissuaded, Nehemiah rallied the people and rebuilt the walls with a hammer in one hand and a sword in the other. We had our own Nehemiah, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Harry Blake Sr., who, when he saw the living conditions of the community in Allendale, he wept, but he went to work. Through our predecessors' organizations in the 70s up until the 2000s, Grace Project and its organizers built affordable housing in Allendale. We worked with the city, the parish, state, and federal governments to accomplish this. Rebuilding the wall in Allendale looks a lot different now because the community is different, and we understand a community is more than just a collection of buildings. Grace Project purchases backpacks for school children and donates school supplies to J.S. Clark and Booker T. Washington High School. Grace Project supports faculty during teacher appreciation at J.S. Clark and Booker T. Washington, who are our two local schools. Grace Project donates resources to J.S. Clark as recently as last week to support rewards for student achievement. When our board found out that the football team did not always have pregame meals at Booker T. Washington, Grace Project stepped in to support. When there was a shortage of bus drivers so that the children couldn't go to away games for football, Grace Project and Mount Canaan stepped in and took students from the high school to their away games. When Booker T. Washington got a chance to play in an NBA game down in New Orleans, they needed to feed their children. They had to house their children. Grace Project and Mount Canaan stepped in and paid for their meals. Grace Project rebuilds the walls in Allendale through their home buyer training program. Grace Project rebuilds the walls in Allendale through the WeBo program, which has taken people from the neighborhood and teach them how to be effective business owners and grow their businesses. And yes, Grace Project administered, with the parish's help, the ERAP program. In fact, Grace Project also worked with Mount Canaan to do an ACT prep course, and where students from Booker T. Washington were paid or given an opportunity to come for free to do ACT prep. Mr. Chairman, this may seem like news to some, but it's not news to the people in Allendale, where we're located and we're proud to serve. It's not even really news to John Settle, Mr. Chairman, because for the last 2 years, When Grace Project in Mount Canaan worked with our commissioner and the Caddo Council on Aging to prepare over 1,000 meals and deliver 1,000 meals to seniors in Caddo Parish, John Settle was right there. He came to the church, and he was in line to help deliver meals. Of course, he must have had convenient amnesia when it comes to reporting the good that Grace Project does. Or it could be, maybe, that Mr. Settle likes to wield his platform like the nightstick of George Dortours, wrapping African American and African American organizations about the head that don't meet with his approval. But rather than to be angry with Mr. Settle and his fascination with my commissioner.
Mr. Lester, I don't want to interrupt you, but you are over time. Are we wrapping it up?
He's as a visitor.
Okay, we have a motion to extend for 2 minutes. Do we have a second on that?
Well, he's down as a visitor. I didn't know visitors had a time limit.
But I'm almost finished.
Okay, sorry, maybe.
I'm almost finished.
Yeah, visitors don't get 3 minutes.
Okay,
He's
my
down as a
mistake.
visitor.
That's okay. I appreciate
I
it.
was watching the clock and got mesmerized.
That's quite all right.
Take
Thank
your
you.
time, Mr. Lester.
That's okay. Thank
I
you.
think your pastor's probably happy with
Well.
the scripture there.
He is. He is. I'm trying. But the point I was going to make was, rather than to be angry with Mr. Settle and his, I don't know, fascination with my commissioner, my organization, my church, or with me, my Bible says that I should pray for him. And I'm going to do that. Why are we called grace? Grace is understood by we Christians as a spontaneous gift from God to people, free, totally unexpected, and undeserved, that takes the form of divine favor and love and a share in the divine love of God. I would submit to you, Mr. Chairman, Caddo Parish needs more grace, not less. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Mr. Lester, I think we've got at least one question. Mr. Jackson, Commissioner Jackson, do you have a question?
Yes.
It looks like is the board working again, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah. I want to thank Mr. Lester, thank Pastor Oliver, and Travis Bogan. A lot of what was said I was prepared to say, but I invited Grace to be down here today to say it for themselves. On Monday, a group, SHRAC, which you may be familiar with your time on the city council, came down and they petitioned this body for resources, and I have yet to see anybody write an article or demand their 990. Another group by the name of the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce came down and petitioned this body for resources. I have yet to see anybody demand Dr. Magnus 990 or write a salacious article about the work or question my relationship with either one of them. And the reason why I've asked Mr. Lester and Grace to come down, as I said on Monday, I represent a very diverse district. I represent the grace and wisdom that represents and comes out of School Park where Ms. Pearson is, but I also represent the struggle that you talked about in rebuilding the Allendale Lakeside community. And I also represent the downtown area that's hustling and bustling with the commercial district. And I think what I told Commissioner Chavez in a text message the other day is I don't turn anybody away. I plead and I try to get resources for everybody. And I try to work and support everybody. But for some reason, the media, or I won't say the media, naysayers, workers of iniquity, evildoers want to tear down certain organizations. Grace has not tried to save all of Shreveport.
That's not what we call to do.
You all are focused on your blocks, your area. And I appreciate people who do that, because we all can't save the world. And that's not what we're called to do. But what you all have been committed to doing is working in the area around you. When I got the call from band director Hudson, they called me first. And I said, well, why don't you call Mount Cana? And next thing you know, I was being called to come to Booker T. Washington, Dr. Wilson. I was being called to come to Booker T. Washington to present a check on behalf of Mount Canaan and Grace Project. Y'all not in the school business. And so, you know, some people have pulled me to the side and say, well, you know, we will support what you're doing, but you know, that Grace, I just don't know about it. Or that other group, Northwest Louisiana Sea, I just don't know. And I'm trying to figure out what is it have these organizations done to draw the ire of certain folks. And so, Mr. Lester, and I also want to ask you, you all received a 2021 parish appropriation, is that correct?
Correct.
Did you all even use it?
Nope. We gave it back.
You never drew it down?
No.
Okay. So, but you applied for a project, right?
We did.
And knowing that you all had the resources to do it, you said,
we just didn't think it was prudent, Mr. Chairman. We know that during the NGO process, there are a lot of organizations that make requests. And when it became clear that we were moving in a different direction, we didn't draw down those resources because we felt that, you know, that would be better going to another organization that was doing some work, and we wanted to direct our activities more toward housing, so we didn't use it.
And why do y'all see housing as an essential plank in what you all are doing, and why we all can't just be concerned about just passing through some of these dilapidated areas? Did you read that article from the gentleman who flew into Shreveport that everybody seemed so upset about?
Right. He told the truth. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and you know, many of us understand that communities are collections of people, but they also are best when you have more homeowners. And when you talk about smart growth, and Mr. Burrell taught me a lot of what I know about revitalization when I was on the council and he was transitioning off and going to the legislature, but you try to build a neighborhood from within, and you don't want to always have to continue to stretch your resources. You try to build where you are. And a community is defined by an area where you can get all your goods and services within a 5-minute walk. Allendale is a beautiful neighborhood that has a lot of natural amenities. We have hills, we have water, we have a whole lot of things that a lot of people would want. But over a period of years, the neighborhood's gotten old. People have come in, you've got tax sale purchasers that basically have blighted properties. And rather than, and our proposal before you is to take those properties, repair them, and put them back into the stream of commerce, making them on the tax rolls for tax purposes, but also to put people in homes that they can afford, that they can live in, that they will be proud of. The city of Shreveport spends almost $1 million a year cutting grass, and you spend even more on that than code enforcement. And you know, Mr. Talaferro will tell you that a lot of these dilapidated properties are ground zero for the crime and both the 4-legged rats and the 2-legged rats that are killing our community. So if we can take some of those dilapidated structures, repair them, and make them better for people who want to live there, because Allendale is a neighborhood of choice. People really want to live there. We can do something to benefit our community and benefit the parish, and that's what we're all about at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lester.
Again, thank you, Mr. Lester. Thank you, Pastor Oliver. Thank you, Mr. Bogan, for committing yourself to this work. It is very difficult. And a lot of times we just cast off some organizations who come down here. You know, when y'all were coming down here asking for $5,000 and $10,000, we ain't had no problem with that. But then when you start asking for significant, you know, we celebrated Dr. King holiday.
Right.
And Dr. King said in his speech, The Other America, he said it was much easier to integrate a lunch counter than it was to guarantee folks a decent place to stay.
Right.
But everybody had their Dr. King quote posted this Monday, I bet. But we don't seem to want to make real on the words and the promises and the ideals that he stood for. So I thank Grace and Mount Canaan for standing for those principles. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lester, we have Commissioner Young with a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lester, I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that through the American Rescue Plan funds, over the summer we made an allocation to Southern University for a program to help them teach young people how to refurbish houses. And I'm sure that they are willing to consider working with other projects such as yours to sort of get a synergy going.
I would love to do that. I would love to do
follow up
that.
with them about it.
Certainly, and of course, as a 2-degree holding and a daughter at the college, anything that has to do with Southern University, I'm always going to be about.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. And to wrap up, let me apologize for interrupting you earlier. I'm still getting used to the process up here, so I apologize for that.
No malicious intent was intended.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Are we done? Thank you, Mr. Lester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Clerk?
And that brings us to the next section on our agenda, which is special resolutions. We have no special resolutions to adopt today, so that we would move along to adopting regular session minutes. Attached, you do have your minutes from the January 6th
Move
regular
to
session.
approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson and a second from Commissioner Burrell. Do we need to take a vote on that, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, please. Should be able to vote.
Commissioner Jackson, you didn't need a comment there, did you? Thanks. You're good.
All right, and that motion passes with 10 in support and none in opposition, 2 absent. That brings us to communiques and committee reports. Again, just as a reminder, this is a slightly different order than our past few agendas in reflection of your recently adopted changes to your bylaws. So this section is communiques and committee reports. And if I could, Mr. Chairman, I did want to just mention briefly that each of you has a binder in front of you from our office that, and we provided these for administration as well. This is just sort of a quick reference to help everybody be able to kind of, keep up with changes as they come, both for the new year and, as I mentioned, your newly adopted bylaws. So you've got just some, committee assignments, seating chart, quick reference of contact information. There's also a calendar in there that's laid out a few different ways. Hopefully that will be very helpful for you. In the bylaws, you may want to take a minute to flip through those and mark a place or two for your quick reference. For instance, if you are somebody who is considering travel this year, maybe note the section on travel. We did include an expense report in there just for your reference. Or the voting chart. There is a voting chart that was recently adopted in your bylaws. It's very helpful for following along with some of these more unusual votes that may come up from time to time. So just wanted to mention that. You've also got a copy of your charter and a copy of a quick reference for Robert's Rules of Order in there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. I'm sure this will be very helpful.
That being said, the next item, just one more thing, I'm sorry, was I just meant to remind you of the item that you had. Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm going to take care of that during the President's report.
Perfect.
All right. So that brings us to communiques. I see. Is that right, Ms. Clerk? We have communiques now?
We are.
All right. So I see several people on the board. Commission Vice President Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to point out a couple of things here while we have it. I received an interesting document from Attorney Henry Byrne just earlier dealing with an issue that we just on, I guess, Tuesday had Dr. Murnane from LSU to address, and that is wastewater testing, because we appropriated $50,000 as a matching fund, I believe, to the city, and I think there were some other matching funds to look at testing. As many of you know, the Omicron virus is more contagious than the Alpha virus, the variant Lambda, and any of the others. but I just want to point to just two statements in this document. I left on your desk. I had put on your desk this document that deals with Omicron, the Omicron variant. And two things in here I just wanted to mention. It says that the United States designated the Omicron variant of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, a variant of concern on November 30th, 2021. And the first U.S. Omicron COVID case was reported December 1st, 2021. And within 18 days of that reporting, the estimated amount of spread of the Omicron virus was 37.9% of the U.S. cases. That is tremendous. The early warning systems such as sewer or wastewater surveillance can help track the spread of this SARS variant across the communities. The other statement is, in addition to the SARS testing, some health departments track the SARS-CoV-2 variant by detecting variants associated with mutations in wastewater. There were several questions as to whether or not this particular method has been used elsewhere, but it says here that the health departments in 4 states, California, Colorado, New York, and Texas, were the first wastewater surveillance program to detect evidence of Omicron in the community wastewater. So I read that to let you know that we are on the right track. We are at the cutting edge, and the work that they are doing out at LSU and working with this is a tremendous help to our area. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, at this time, I'd like to make sure that I give proper recognition for our Mlk Day program. We had an Mlk Day giveaway of food distribution. As you know, the Caddo Council on Aging, they're not open to provide that meal. And similar to what Mr. Lester called out, like Grace does on Thanksgiving Day, Image Changers, MLK CDC, Craig Events, Crimson Cook, and Representative Glover all partnered up to provide that MLK Day meal distribution. And it's a very festive event. We usually look forward to having a congregate meal setting, but obviously because it serves some of the most senior citizens in our parish, which makes them vulnerable to COVID-19, even with the vaccination, it's continued to stay a meal delivery. I'd be remiss if I did not call out Tabitha Taylor. I apologize, Tabitha Taylor, as well as the Shreveport Fire Department came out in huge numbers. We had about, I want to say about 700 something individuals who were served on that day. They got a hot meal. They received a COVID kit that had N95 mask, as well as a set of home tests included. And so I'm always looking for ways that we make sure that we take care of our senior or our seasoned citizens, as my pastor would say, our seasoned citizens. I believe even when Commissioner Chavez was president, he participated in the one that Grace did. And so the seniors really appreciate you showing up at their door, and it also gives the volunteers who come out, it gives them an opportunity to see what it's really like to deliver that hot meal to our seniors. So thank you. So I want to say thanks to Mount Canaan. I was recognized as one of their MLK recipients this weekend. The program had to be streamed virtually, but we know that is a program that Pastor Blake, who was a field sergeant or field captain for Dr. Martin Luther King, and he always wanted to make sure that we had something to do as a city that brought everybody together on MLK Day. So thank you, Mount Canaan, for that recognition. Dr. Wilson and Mr. Everson, at our last meeting, when we were talking about some of the zoning issues, we asked that a meeting be put together with stakeholders like the Homeowners Association and the Realtors Association. Have we put that together? Do we have a tentative date or a tentative anything for that just yet? Or is it
Yep.
Okay. Are we going to do that?
You get with homeowners association?
Not homeowners, I apologize. Home Builders Association.
Oh, no.
Home Builders Association and the, I think Real Estate Association or Realtors Association, I believe.
We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
But we can.
Okay.
I'll work with Jeff on that.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Would we be better to hold that in our long-range planning?
I mean,
Very probably.
I don't know that I don't know that they want to be on a, I don't know from listening, I don't know if they want to be in a meeting. I think they want to kind of have I don't know. I'm gonna leave that.
Okay.
If it's gotta be there, do it there. I don't have any objection to it. I just know that they want it to at least have a place where they can have their voices
Yes,
or
sir.
their thoughts.
I've been contacted already by Mr. Lynn Coleman.
Okay.
He would like to come down and express an
Yeah.
opinion
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Whenever the appropriate time is, I can let him know that he'll come.
Okay.
And he'll be glad to come and address the issue
Okay.
because he has a concern.
So however we want to coordinate that,
I mean, we
I
can-
don't
yes,
have a
sir.
problem at all.
As long as we, we do it in a public meeting.
Yeah.
but
Yes, sir.
We can do it either
Well,
way.
we'll defer
Yeah.
to Dr. Wilson to arrange that if you would.
Yeah, that's why I said Dr. Wilson and the clerk need to work together.
together.
And I believe Mr. Scott Hughes is the Realtor Association, and then the Home Builders Association. Jeff, I'm not sure who that director is. She is. I think it's a she.
It is. Yeah, Dixie. I can reach out to them.
Okay.
In response to your request, when I look back through the direct comments, there's sort of a request for some general input, and then there's a few specific things mentioned. So maybe if you wouldn't mind, maybe you can give me a call tomorrow, and
No.
we can kind of talk a little more specifically about what the expectation is, so we can get that set up,
Okay.
and we'll be glad to.
Okay. I also would like to add in the Greater Shreveport Chamber to be available for that, the African American Chamber of Commerce to be available for that, and the Committee of 100 to be available for that as well. So that's the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, African American Chamber of Commerce, and Committee of 100 as well.
And then the Home
Just want to make sure we have
Builders Association and the Realtors Association.
Yes. Please also add the Manufacturers Managers Council. Manufacturers Managers Council. And that's it for me, Mr. President. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Clerk, you're on the board, but is that just an old one?
That is probably an accidental touch of my.
Okay.
It's probably my hand.
Mr. President, before
That's not intentional.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Jeff, for the binder. So this is pretty handy. So I just I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks for providing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. All right, Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I don't know how many of you may remember Lloyd Leonard, former commissioner. He used to always say we're spending money like drunken sailors on shore leave. So this is, I don't know how many times that I have asked us to seriously delve into upgrading our communication system. Let's get a little more drunker and see if we can spend some money on upgrading this system. I think it's appalling that we, in this day and age, with the situations that we have to have with social media and via Zoom and things of this nature, not being able to accommodate persons when they come here with PowerPoints, et cetera, as far as good communication tools that we have in place. In reference to resolution number 84, Mr. Everson, could you play that that audio that I sent you, please, sir?
I can. One moment.
Hello, Mr. Epperson. My name is Stephanie Dunn, and I just recently moved to a community in Greenwood, Louisiana. And I would like to speak to you regarding the issue of the fracking that is going on out here and its effects on the neighborhoods and things of that nature, and to see if there's anything in place to keep them from doing so, and if so, how can we address the current situation that is happening behind my subdivision. My name again is Stephanie Dunn. My number is 318-773-8255. 3999. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I think we've heard advocates on behalf of the oil and gas drilling industry to come down and give their perspective as to resolution number 84. We received written communication from, I think what they call LaMoga and Lobby and all of those persons that are advocates on behalf of the oil and gas industry. However, they put in the economic impact, the amount of dollars, the things of this nature, which we've heard so much. But can you imagine a community of 21,000 residents? Couldn't tell you how many homes that are within that particular area. And their total amount of property taxes and other taxes that they pay perpetually throughout their tenure as purchasing homes and living and shopping within that area. Also, the industry also, it oftentimes fails to tell you all of the pros about the industry, but it never tells you anything about the cons. There are health effects. There are environmental effects. But they always want to put out the dollar amount that they're putting in place. They never tell you about the time when the industry goes down and all those places sit vacant and all those employees are laid off and all those facilities are sitting empty and desolate. So it's two sides to everything. And I would implore my colleagues to please take a note of the links that I sent you relative to issues other than what the advocates of the oil and gas industry have sent to you. Please play those links. The fires, the environmental issues, the accidents, the loss of property values. And please pay special attention, I think, to Act 549 that passed the Louisiana legislature in the last section by Representative McCormick as far as minimizing the reporting of spills and leaks. And don't get caught up in, it appears as though just because you passed a resolution is only a formal request. It has no weight of law. All we are doing is asking the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, the Office of Conservation, through Secretary Ayub, to look at those issues that are concerns of our constituents who was not at the table when the laws that are currently in place. But you can bet your bottom dollar the advocates for the oil and gas industry was at the table, and the politicians that are pro oil and gas drilling. Totally unfair. Also, Mr. Chairman, in light of and respect for your being at the economic announcement this morning and administrator, I would not mention nothing relative to that in case you want to.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Did you all want to mention it?
No, it's not on my list, so you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, we had an economic development announcement this morning, a $100 million investment that will be put at the Resilient Industrial Park. I hope
right.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
Resilient Industrial Park, located behind 7288 Greenwood Road. It's in City Council District G and Caddo Parish Commission District 12. It's a certified industrial site, and this is going to be a 77,000 square foot facility that will be put in place by AEP, American Electrical Power, and SWEPCO.
83 direct and indirect jobs.
Right. Well, that's why I say I want you chime in and fill in. But anyway, a wonderful opportunity, and we feel that this is going to be a catalyst as to what can happen. Now, I think that site has close to 300 acres that's available. And the parish, the city of Shreveport, and Louisiana Department of Economic Development
were instrumental in helping to bring that here, as well as North Louisiana Economic Partnership. So we're all looking forward to a bright future. And those jobs are going to be high-end jobs. I understand they're going to be about $115,000 a year. Very, very strong deal. And this is why we need to address all of these negative issues in Caddo Parish in the city of Shreveport. Because you know what'll happen? People come here and get those $115,000 a year jobs. They'll drive into Caddo Parish, get that check, and they'll go to East Texas. They'll go to North Bossier Parish to Benton, and they'll go to North DeSoto Parish because of so much animosity and so many ugly things that's going on in Caddo Parish. Also, I'd like to commend Mr. Weaver and Chuck Wilson, our property standards manager, for the concerns that they have been addressing. They are always punctual, always give feedback as to the concerns of the citizens, and we always ask them to be discreet, because most of the time citizens report something they don't want any fallouts with the neighbors. However, Tim, Chuck, if you're in the house, I'd like for you to go back to 4211 Calderwood. There are 2 inoperable vehicles that are still there, and I think you may have cited them when there was 1. So please put the pressure on them to have that removed, okay? And also, the 7100 block of Greenwood Road, where industrial loop dead ends to Greenwood Road, directly into the site of this new facility that's coming in, and we certainly don't want those people to see this junk that's up there. Property standards demolished a structure that was in violation. However, it appears that they did not cordon it off, and there's some dumping going on there again, so if you address that particular deal. That's all I have now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Talfero.
Thank you, Mr. President. As excuse me, as the cold weather is starting to kind of move into our neighborhoods, many of us on the Animal Services Committee are inundated with concerned phone calls from our animal supporters of what Caddo Parish or CPAS is currently doing to take care of the animals that we currently house, as far as keeping them warmer and so forth. So to get ahead of the curve in the questioning, I'm going to invite Assistant Director Samuels to come up, just give us a brief history, a brief synopsis of, kind of some of the things that are going on at CPAS, and how we're kind of getting out in front of the cold weather with our animals. And anything that the public may be able to help us with.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So, cold weather is upon us again, of course. With us always being at capacity, we do our very best to move animals around if we can. Blankets, you could always donate blankets. And for the public, remember to honk your horn, right? You do have TNR cats. If you have an antifreeze leak, make sure you clean that up. Antifreeze is poisonous to animals, right? If you have still water bowls, make sure that you actually use plastic in the winter months, because metal water bowls actually sticks to the tongue of pets if it becomes dry. High protein food content, okay? Shelter is a must. Try to make sure that your shelter is off the ground, all right? Some more stuff, blankets. Even though you have the myth of huskies and shepherds and short-coated dogs, just forget all of that and just try to provide warmth if you can. It's best for the animals, and you'll feel better about it. Daylight saving time, right? It gets darker quick. So if you're out walking your animals, make sure that you have reflective belts. Make sure your animal is seen. So basically just be observant and take care of each other and take care of your pets.
And Mr. Samuels, what are we currently doing at CPAS?
CPAS, we actually have blankets out. If the wind is, if it's 32 and below, if the wind is gusting towards the east or the west, we try to put up tarps if we can. Now, last time it snowed and we put out there, even though we're at capacity, you don't want to start mixing a lot of animals together because we had the biggest URL outbreak because you're mixing animals that are coming in with diseases. So we have to be careful there as well. So we try to move animals as we see fit, but we do our best at capacity. Blankets is always a plus. Can never run out of blankets.
And as I recall, we're not in favor of bringing in the cheap blankets that you can pick up at Walmart because they shred a lot, don't they?
Right.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of quality that are going to be beneficial to the animals and to you as far as cleanup, maintenance,
Right. Absolutely. Now, donating stuff is always a plus. I mean, whatever you can donate is great, but you are correct. If an animal can shred a blanket, it's bad for the intestinal digestion, and it's bad for the plumbing. But if you can donate anything, we're thankful. So, we're very appreciative either way.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Is that it,
Thank you,
Commissioner?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir. All right, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't gonna get on the board, but when I heard Commissioner Talaferro talk about dogs, cats, I couldn't sit here and be quiet. It's gonna be cold, true enough, but we also have homeless people too. And I think we need to be discussing what we're going to be doing with the homeless people. There's one organization that is putting up a temporary tent to try to corral some of the homeless people. But at the same time, there are some needs. They was looking for frack lights, probably some outdoor propane heaters to try to keep it warm there. I understand we have an abundance of animal lovers in our area, but I still go back to what I always said. We should be looking at the mankind first and then our animals. Some people won't like that, but that's how I was raised and that's how I believe. That if we don't look for help our other man, then how are we going to help an animal? So I will be trying to get in contact with you after the meeting, seeing what we could actually do to help the homeless, because the organization is trying to do what they can. Some of the homeless shelters in place are shut down because of COVID, so that's another issue that we have that's going on in Caddo Parish. But to me, we should be trying to address the deal with humans and not animals as a priority. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Burrell.
Just as a follow-up to that, Mr. President, maybe those blankets that shreds that the animals may wind up eating and having a problem can be passed on to the homeless folks. That's one recommendation. I have three things here, Mr. Chairman, that I didn't address before, and I did, I think, on Monday. And I'm asking the commissioners to go ahead on and get their recommendations for the Caddo Community Broadband Committee in. Commissioner Epperson sent one in earlier, as I understand, and I know that there's a second resume that was sent. That committee comprised of up to 13 members. And what I'm asking is that if you can make a recommendation of someone that has some sort of technical background, if possible, but if not, community participant would be just fine. We would work with them because it takes both to deal with the issue of broadband. The second thing on my list is I had requested an update on the communication with those who are responsible for the oversight of orphan wells. Back in December, I gave everyone a copy of a Times article that dealt with orphan wells, and in it talked about monies that was in the infrastructure bill to cap orphan wells in Caddo, and Caddo has more than any other parish in the state. So we would like to start addressing that issue. So I asked the administration whether or not they've done anything on this. If not, hopefully by next time, Jeff, between you and the administration, that we will get someone here to talk about that. And I'm sure it would be also in relationship to what Commissioner Epperson is trying to deal with, because Ann Johnson and those who have, Ann Hopkins and others who have orphan wells in their areas. The third thing, Mr. Chairman, is to remind the administration and commission clerk to invite again our Red River Waterway representative, who is our board member, Mr. Ron Latier, or should I say Attorney Ron Latier, along with the director of Colin Brown, who is the director here, because you, Mr. President, as well as Commissioner Chavez had some questions, and there are some things that that they need to share with us as it relates to the Red River flowing through Caddo Parish. So those are the three things I have on my list, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Will, as a small aside, I will say that the letter that the executive director of the Red River Waterway Commission sent was very informative, and I encourage everyone to read it who has not yet had a chance to read it. Welcome, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you.
Please let the record read that Commissioner Jones is at his station. Let's see, anyone else on the, Commissioner Epperson, are you back on the board?
Yes, sir. My constituents just texted me and told me they wanted me to make sure that I let everyone know about this the situation with the MPC and the zoning and so forth. It appears as though the majority of what I've been getting has been coming from areas out of my district, which sometime I will email people back and I would ask them, send me your name and address and your phone number. And, you know, I never got that, you know. Some things have been quite offensive, and you know, been called names, traitors, unpatriotic, Nazi, all kind of stuff like that. And I don't think no one here knows that there isn't anyone that is not more patriotic as me and my family. But then I get we didn't know about it. Well, I don't know what people in other districts, what their commissioners did. Let's see, I think District 1 had, when I come down here, Johnny Reed, Jim Smith, Doug Dominique, and now Todd Hopkins. I don't know how they handle their districts, but I know how I handle my district during the hearings on everything that these people are concerned about. And I'm like, I don't know how you young people may not know the show, The Real McCoys, Grandpa Amos. Walter Brennan was the star, and he'd say, no brag, just fact. Well, I got fact. I held meetings within my district. Huntington High School, American Road Center, Western Hills Baptist Church, at least 2 a week. When this UDC was being debated and discussed, so I told some of them, I said, I don't know if you was like an ostrich had your head in the ground, or you didn't read the newspaper, or you don't watch television, but it was out there. But I can't speak for anybody else. But I can speak for Ken Epperson and his district. And I may have had 4 direct calls from my constituents, and once I spoke with them, they said, man, that just doesn't make any sense. And some of the emails I've been getting, it appears as though the people are confused. We don't want an I-49 TIF up in North Carolina. I don't know nothing about no TIF at I-49. Have no idea about that, but It's highly confusing. I can't speak for any other districts, but I can definitely speak for District 12 and my constituents. I put it out there. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson, second time around.
Yes, Dr. Wilson, that issue that I asked you to address on Wells Island Road, do you have a status update?
No, sir. We're trying to work through that issue.
So we had a contract with Mr. Clark, right?
Yes, sir.
With the MPC, right? So
Yes,
are
sir.
they still required to come down, or what?
Yes.
Are you gonna lay out what their relationship is to us
I
at some
can.
point? Or that's what you're about to do? Am I getting ahead of?
Yes, sir.
Oh, oops, my bad. I mean, if you could ask them to take care of that, and
Yes,
I
sir.
also, I also would like to have some more one-on-one direct, not a letter from the Red River Waterway Commission. We are the largest taxing contributor to the Red River Waterway Commission, and to me, justifying how much they're putting into the port, they're required to put their money into the port. That's a whole nother program that they're putting money into the port. Whole nother separate pot of money. What are we doing the rest of the waterway? The locking down system, that's a requirement for them to do. So I read the letter, and it looked like they took 2016 off and put 2022 on it. Same letter. So I think we need to have some serious conversation. Attorney Frazier, can you look, did we ever do the research? I thought there was some conversation of what it takes to pull out of, since we pulling out of stuff, what it take to pull the parish out of the Red River Waterway Commission? Since we,
I don't recall being asked to research this.
I got you. I know it was talked. Y'all probably wasn't asked. I know it was discussed.
Yes, sir.
It was, but if you could research that, if somebody could give us some research on how can we possibly pull out of the Red River Waterway Commission, and if we need to get us a legislator to roughshod us a bill through there to get us out of the Red River Waterway Commission. I don't know that we're getting our fair share.
Yeah, we actually don't.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Okay.
Give us a tax break.
Seeing no one else on the board. Administrator's report. Dr. Wilson, do you have some
Yes,
matters
sir.
to cover?
Good afternoon, President Atkins and Commissioners. I do have a couple of things. First item is we did receive our drone for helping us do herbiciding in hard-to-reach areas within the parish. FAA will be here on the 17th and the 18th to train our personnel on how to use it to make sure we don't violate any FAA rules. But that will be an additional resources that we have that now will probably benefit us in the long term. Also, Commissioner Jackson, understanding the Waterway Commission works along the waterway, the Red River Waterway, and our problem has been we never had land contiguous to it to get money out of it. We did receive $300,000 maybe 5 years ago, and we asked for that money to build a dog park, which is next to the Stoner Boat Ramp. In prior years, we have never gotten any money from it because we never had land contiguous to the Red River. The third item I have for you is I need to give you an administrative fact regarding the status of planning within our parish. I did have the opportunity to meet with Mr. Clark, along with our attorney and Mr. Bryant and I last week, and laid out for Mr. Clark what we expected of him. So I think I need to clarify for you all what's expected at this point regarding zoning. So I have a prepared statement I'd like to read to you all, so I'll be factual in it. If you indulge me in reading it, because I need to be factual when I'm putting it out here. Okay, now, House Bill 697 removed the parish territory from the jurisdiction of the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission of the parish of Caddo. Essentially what it did was it undid the legislative CEA between the parish and the city of Shreveport for zoning functions. It undid the CEA we had with the current Shreveport Metropolitan Planning and took us out of that process. This statute did not become effective until January 1st, 2022. The effective date is important because we no longer have a procedure or a board in place to handle zoning issues and matters for the parish. For instance, pending zoning cases must still be completed as well as new cases considered. Additionally, the parish zoning ordinance were not repealed. The current parish zoning ordinances would not been repealed. So we still have to make sure they're enforced. This board has not taken any actions to do otherwise. All zoning ordinances are in place and affecting citizens right now. This includes everything from site plan to zoning violation to rezoning. Furthermore, a board must be put in place to hear appeals and to make decisions on certain issues. That is why the 2021 ordinance creating the Caddo Parish Planning Board was passed. Until it is populated and start holding hearings, the development in the parish is affected and zoning matters are still at a standstill. Even those that arose prior to the legislation becoming effective are also halted. So we still have a planning and zoning function to do. People can still call us with complaints with respect to planning and zoning issues, and we have to be able to respond. That's why we entered into a CEA with the current Metropolitan Planning Commission to perform the functions that as it relates to violation of the zoning ordinances that we currently have in our books. So in all intents and purposes, nothing's been set aside, and we have to enforce the law. We don't have the luxury of not enforcing the law as it currently exists today. So for all intents and purposes, planning still exists within our parish of Caddo, and the mechanism for carrying out those duties, we contracted with the current City of Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission to work on our behalf. So that's where we currently are. Until you all take action to appeal, set aside, we still have to enforce the zoning rules and ordinances that we have today.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Could you please share that letter with everybody?
Yes, sir.
With the
I will.
commissioners?
Make sure everybody get a copy of it. And
Anything
I'll make
else?
sure everybody get a copy of it.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you.
also, please be mindful that the cases that we had prior to January 1st of 2022 must be resolved.
Pending cases, okay?
Yes, sir. So we have to have a mechanism that this board need to take action to resolve those cases and set a destination forward to what planning will look like. I know you are seeking the Attorney General's opinion, but until that opinion come back, we still have to do our job.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think we've got several questions that might deal with this, so I'm
Yes,
gonna, let us take these, and then,
Yes, sir.
and then if you've got additional items on your agenda, we'll pick those up following.
Okay.
Commissioner Jackson is on the board twice. Go ahead, Commissioner
we
Jackson.
go out? I had a question about the drone.
Yes, sir.
We didn't prior to, when did the drone come in?
We just got it in recently.
Okay, prior to that, would you consider that a tool?
Yes, sir. It went to the committee, and the committee recommended that we purchase that. It went to the Animal Services Board.
Yes, sir.
And the board recommended we go forward with the purchasing of that
Yes, sir.
equipment, and we did so.
Yes, sir. So
And
that
now
was-
we're about to complete the training.
Yes, sir. And so that was equipment we didn't have
Yes,
to
sir.
carry out that
It was-
function?
It was new technology we have been employing for
Deploying.
the first time.
But we went ahead and purchased it, and now we getting trained to deploy it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good. And I just like if we need to do it for signal lights, if that's the pleasure of the body. At that time. Not right now, but at that time.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to, make that apples to apples comparison. And
Okay.
the MPC issue,
Mhm.
what about the members, or do we not want to, is that in litigation, is my understanding? Or
Sir,
is that not in litigation?
it's my understanding, Mr. Clark is not here because he's dealing with some
Okay.
health issues.
I understand.
But as I can appreciate it, the city leadership and the city council is contemplating the restructuring of that board to minus the inclusion of the participants we had signed prior to the
Mhm.
change being made.
So they wouldn't be on that board, is what you're saying?
No, sir, they're not going to be on that board. We got a divorce, so to speak.
Gotcha. Okay. That's it for me right now. Thank you.
A forced divorce.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Commissioner Jackson got the answer that I was going to ask, which is the drone that was purchased is the mosquito killing drone, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think you may have accidentally said it was going to spray herbicides, but it should be spraying insecticides.
Yes, sir.
For the mosquitoes. Please don't use it to kill any plants.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
Dr. Wilson, can the drone be used for other purposes other than spraying? Can it be used for like photos of areas?
Yes, sir. Those drones could be used for several. The drones could be used for several applications, and we in the long term we like to use those the drone once we perfect the use of it to perhaps help us with waterway issues and drainage issues and hard to reach areas of the parish, to take a look at what we have to overcome. But it's not to be used for any surveillance or anything like that, only as a tool in our Public Works Department for working in animal services.
I don't mean checking on nobody's swimming pool or nothing, but
yes, sir.
while they're out sunning, but I'm talking about
Yes,
it
sir.
can be used for video for our work, Public Works as well.
Sir, we haven't gotten the video equipment, but I think it could be modified at some point in the future to do that.
Okay. Also, on the information that you read, send mine to me,
Yes,
digital,
sir.
please.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure every commissioner get a copy of this. I just need to make sure the subject matter is intact, and I'll make sure you get a copy of it, because I think your constituents calling you, asking you questions about planning and zoning, you probably need this information.
Right, yeah. I don't want no he say, she say, they say, and I thought. So, like I say, send mine to me via email.
Okay.
Also, let's see, Dr. Ward is in, right? So
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
got
sir.
those two places where I had concerns about? Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I thought Commissioner Jackson bringing up the tool and the equipment was parlaying to the mobile security trailer cameras, but I guess that changed to the traffic light. But it sounds like the same scenario, so hopefully that can be resurrected.
Yes, sir. One was using ARP money versus operational monies. I think the suggestion you had, Commissioner Chavez, was to use some ARP money to fund those surveillance units, and we checked with the Treasury and we couldn't use it for that purpose.
Are we going to be able to use American Rescue funds for the Ring doorbells?
I'm not sure. We had to vet it like everything else that's before us. It may not make it. As long as we can fulfill the criteria of the Treasury Department, we will go forth and come back and let you know whether or not it passed or maybe it didn't.
Okay. Ultimately, crime prevention is the key, so
Yes,
the more the better.
Yeah, I
The
understand.
current cases, moving over to the MPC that we had some cases that Director Clark had to delay and remove
Yes,
from
sir.
the agenda.
I think there's 3 cases we have pending that need to be resolved. Am I wrong?
Right.
Donna? Do you know?
So is the current situation now they're going to be added back to the agenda, thus forcing the citizens to wait an additional month for hearing, or how's this going to work?
Well, right now, Commissioner, our concern is you don't have a mechanism to even address it. So you have no zoning board, you have no way of evaluating the issue at hand because you don't have a board, a zoning board, and it's for that purpose of doing so. So unless this commission sits as a zoning board, but I think the suggestion that I read to you, I think you need to move forward and to establish what you had it already passed a couple of months ago, populate it, let them make the decisions, act on whatever is in abeyance, and then determine the path forward.
You say move forward as in appoint the rural board for the appointed board?
Yes,
So
sir.
the citizens have to wait for us to set up that board before they can get a ruling?
That is correct.
Yes, sir. You got to have some way to do it. And right now, you all are not a zoning board.
Worst case scenario, if those 3 cases decide to go forward with whatever they decide to do, who is the enforcement arm?
We recommend that nothing takes place until this commission decides the proper evaluation of what's being asked.
Dr. Wilson, forgive me, but if I was a citizen watching this show, I'd say forget them. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Well, okay.
Here's the problem. I want to make something clear is that our contract is not with the Metropolitan Planning Commission. It is with the commission staff to assist the planning board that you all have not populated. Nothing can move that needs a commission until you all populate that board. So basically, all development, unless it's something extremely simple, but anything that needs site plans, rezoning, all of that development is halted in Caddo Parish outside of incorporated areas until that gets done. Now, tracking parallel to that, you have the issue on whether or not to do the Attorney General's opinion as to whether or not the parish can act as a board. But that's gonna be 4 to 6 weeks before you get a response. So whatever time you don't populate that board is gonna be added to the time before anything gets resolved.
So you're saying there's currently no mechanism for permission, but the mechanism for enforcement is still the MPC staff?
The MPC staff would be a mechanism for enforcement, but they can only go so far with enforcement until it has to be appealed to somebody. And they are never the final enforcer of anything.
Right.
This body was with an appeal from the MPC. So now, when they get to the end of sending out whatever notice, if there is a violation or whatever, there is nothing further that can be done.
So all the people in the 5 Mile who were told they couldn't put their RV in their front yard can now park in the front yard and no one can say anything?
No, they'll get their letters. But
The letter from whom?
they'll get a letter from MPC staff on behalf of the parish. But when they get that letter, if they want to appeal that violation, there's nobody for them to appeal it to.
Yeah.
Who would be for them to pay that to? Because there's no payment either, is there?
Well, they were still.
If they chose to pay it, I guess they could pay it to the MPC and MPC staff, and we'd still get those funds like we always did.
Yes. Commissioner Chavez, if long as we have the ordinances on the books that are active, they have to be carried out as prescribed in the ordinance. A violation is a violation as it spells out in the ordinance, and that's what the MPC staff will go out and investigate for us. If there is a penalty in it, there will still be a penalty in it until such time you decide differently, because if the person who received a citation, for example, wanted to appeal, who are they going to appeal it to?
I agree. So I guess last question, the MPC staff, we're still funding them at the agreed upon budget. Is it quarterly?
I believe.
Payments are made quarterly, yes.
Quarterly?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think the MPC is anticipating on with that revenue to go out into the parish to look at the 5 Mile?
To do what? Say that
To
again?
go look at the 5 Mile area?
Yes.
They still are?
They are still responsible for
Yes.
the incidents and the site plans, all of that's within the 5 miles.
Yes.
Okay.
When we met with Mr. Alan Clark last week, we told him that we expect him to carry out everything that he was doing prior to that within regards to our enforcing our ordinances as they exist today.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Thank you, Attorney Frazier. Thank you, President.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
I just wanted to point out and make sure everybody distinguished at home that our ordinances only cover the 5 Mile area.
That's correct.
Anything north of 173 is still the way it's always been. There is no zoning unless you're in a municipality up there. And I think down south, I'm not sure where the line is, but this is only the 5 Mile area we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, within, because some of it's not really 5 miles.
Right.
Some of it's 3, but within that 5 Mile area.
Right.
Okay, is that it, Commissioner Hopkins?
That's it.
Thank you. Important point to make. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to go back to what you were just talking about, Dr. Wilson, with the MPC. I noticed on North Lakeshore Drive, there's a single wide trailer that just been installed, put in, and it didn't come before us. So if some people in the parish now thinking that there's nothing in place, evidently, because it just happened recently.
Yes. Commissioner Johnson, I'll get whether you get that location, but there's a lot of confusion that it currently existed within the community, because a lot of people think that when we had the separation from the Metropolitan Planning Commission, that things went, this no longer exists.
Exactly.
But that's not the case.
Well, we need to talk
That's
to
why
that
we-
owner that owns that trailer.
Yes, sir. You'll give me that address, and we'll have that investigated to see if it's in compliance. If it's not, we'll take appropriate steps.
Okay. Now, back to what Commissioner Chavez was talking about with the mobile trailers. I think the purpose that he was initially talking about will not work, but we could still use those for crime prevention. And that falls under ARP, I know. It's crime prevention.
Crime prevention.
We have a problem with illegal dumping. And those could be put up in some areas where people are dumping tires, furniture, refrigerators, all that kind of stuff. There are some hot spots in Caddo Parish where we got a lot of shootings. They can be put up in those areas. I think that we should go ahead and get those and make sure that the purpose that we got them for, we use them that meets ARP, and not just something that somebody's kind of thought about, but they have a use in Caddo Parish. So we should still get them because that's crime prevention and that's part of ARP. The other thing is, I'll wait on that one. I'm done. I'll wait.
Okay. Ms. Frazier, you back on the board, or did you say your piece?
Done.
Done?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Epperson.
Ms. Frazier, Dr. Wilson, did you say we had 3 pending cases with the MPC?
Yes, sir. I
Would
believe
you
that's
name those, please? What are they?
I think I received an email from Mr. Clark on that, sir, about a week or so ago. And what I have to do is go back and reread the email and let you know. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Would you read them out for the record? Because I've been getting a lot of concerns from my constituents about
Okay.
Testament LLC, which we've been messing around since 2020.
Okay, sir. I've just given the email that says case 2021-8 SP 7681 Shirley Francis Road, consent subdivision is one. I believe this one will be approved by default due to the 60-day limit. You got case 2136P 1202 Wells Islands Road rezoning. You get case 2114B AP 771 Greenwood Road Testament Appeal. And you have another case 2115 BPA 3409 Eden Boulevard Offense Variance. So
Thank you,
as
sir.
it stands, you have 4 cases, 3 more likely because one would drop off on the 60-day limit, but you have 3 cases you have to deal with.
Thank you.
Is that it, Commissioner Epperson?
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Commissioner
I got a
Jackson.
question, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Just like we contracted, I heard you say we contracted with the MPC staff. Did I hear
Yes,
term
sir.
phrase
Yes, for
correct?
enforcement.
Aren't we also contracting with the City of Shreveport's inspection department
Yes, sir, for permitting.
for permitting?
Yes, sir.
So, if
Parish-wide.
right, so if the notion that we were detaching ourselves from the City of Shreveport completely is simply not true, because
Well,
if the
Different function.
okay,
Yeah.
but if the permitting department doesn't issue the permit, or does the permitting department report to the MPC?
No, they don't.
They don't.
They
Okay.
don't.
So
It's
they
just separate function.
separate functions, totally separate department.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But we are so a City of Shreveport employee is going to show up
Yes, sir.
in that area.
Yes, sir. That decision was made several years ago when the state stood up its national
Uniform.
building code standards.
Uniform building code.
Yes, sir.
So
And it made it mandatory, and because we thought we didn't need to duplicate resources, we would worked with the city of Shreveport. They
You didn't
were-
want to grow government.
Huh?
You didn't want to grow your government.
Yes, sir. We didn't want to grow government and more efficient use of current resources. And they were obliged to partner with us to carry that function out, since we don't have that many to begin with. But it was a better use of the personnel, resources, and funds to do it.
So some of the hysteria around the MPC still doing the legwork or
Yes,
supporting this board, it seems like it, to me, even though it's a different function, we still have a scenario where
Yes, sir.
there's a non-parish employee going out to issue building permits.
Yes,
and
sir.
to enforce building codes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
That's
then
correct.
to Attorney Frazier, would the MPC be able to issue cease and desist notices for individuals who just say, forget it, I'm gonna go ahead? Would they have that ability to do that, or would that have to come from this body?
What they do is they send notices of violations.
Violations.
If somebody goes ahead and does something,
Mhm.
they will send notices of violations for the specified limit of time period in the statute.
Mhm.
If it is not taken care of, then they will bring the case to us to either transfer to the district attorney, or if there's a
Okay.
civil action.
So that's kind of, that sounds like the enforcement piece there to me.
It is. It
That
is.
is, that is the enforcement
Mhm.
piece. However, persons, who have an issue that is appealable, they send those violations or notices out, and that person gets an appeal about it. They don't have anybody
Right.
that's
Appeal
can
to.
appeal immediately.
Right. There's no mechanism for it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Where are we, Commissioner Clerk?
We are still under communiques and committee reports, hopefully a president's report.
I don't see any communiques. Dr. Wilson, do you have anything
Oh,
to
no,
add
sir.
under administration?
I'm done, sir. And I do
Okay.
appreciate the time.
Okay, that takes us to President's Report. And if you all will indulge me for a moment, I would like to take a moment out of our agenda to honor our past president. There are many talented people around this horseshoe, but over my 7 years, I've found Lyndon Johnson, Commissioner Johnson, to be one of the most talented of the lot. Always well prepared, well read, and thoughtful as he reviewed and considered votes on various ordinances and resolutions. I will say that he and I did not always agree, but I learned to always respect his views and his opinions and his knowledge on the topic. Over the last couple of years, he's been a mentor to me on the commission, and I've learned much by watching him and learning from him, and I'd like to thank him for that mentorship. And most importantly, I've got an award here that I'd like to present to him out in front of the horseshoe to thank him for his past year of service as the president of the commission. If everybody could join me in giving Where do you want to?
Right here.
Give you a handshake?
A little bit.
Do
Okay,
it
perfect.
again.
You ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
All right. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Y'all can be seated. I want to thank all of the commissioners. As president, there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that the president get called on, but it takes all 11 of the other commissioners to make the actual commission work. One person can't pull the wagon by himself. It takes everyone's help. We all don't agree on every subject, but when it comes down to important issues that affect the parish, we will find a common ground. It may take 2 or 3 rounds, but we will come to a common ground to get things done. I hear all the time that, the commission body is one that a lot of people admire because that we get a lot of things done and we don't procrastinate on a lot of issues. And you know, that makes me proud, especially being in the presidency and also being a commissioner. We have a lot of issues that we still need to tackle. We're not perfect, but at the same time, I think if we keep chewing away at it, we'll get where we need to get to. And I think that a lot of times we should not take things personally because we're here representing people that elected us to sit in those seats. So if they elected us to sit in those seats, we should honor them with the wishes of the majority of the people that elected us. And so, you know, sometimes we don't follow the bandwagon of if 25 people come down and we talking about 200,000 people in the parish, then, you know, sometimes they feel that the noisy wagon gets all the attention. But there's always another side, a side B. If you go back to the albums, you got a side A and a side B. So you also want to make sure you listen to that side B as well. But 2021 started out real rough with the freeze, and then having to bring in all of the water, seeing that the infrastructure, not only in the parish but also in the city of Shreveport, was couldn't take 17-degree weather for a long period of time, and we're coming right back up to winter weather again. So hopefully some of the problems that we had last year, because people said they'd never seen it before, well, you saw it last year. Just like when we started having floods, you saw it one year, you're gonna see it again if nothing has changed. COVID is still around, and you know, it's a different variant. Hopefully in 2022, the variants get weaker and weaker, and we don't hospitalize as many people, and more people decide to get vaccinated. This year we had some virtual meetings, and every time I did a virtual meeting, it wasn't because I felt that we were lazy or that we didn't take care of business, because we were still taking care of business, but it was for the health of everybody that sits around that horseshoe. I didn't take it lightly, never take anything like that lightly, because everyone's health is important. Everybody wants to go home to their family. And so that's the reason why I did that way. Finished the year off pretty good. We're starting to get some of those economic development hits that we had been getting all in 2021. The Amazon was one that was a major hit. We got one today with AEP. So it looks like the economy is trying to turn around. We just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and go after those jobs that's going to bring us meaningful incomes and not just service jobs. Whenever they tell me about a service job, I never really get excited about it, because typically it takes two of those in order for somebody to make a good living. But if you can get hold to one of those jobs that we're talking about now, like Commissioner Epperson said, average salary of $115,000, that's phenomenal in this area. So thanks again for everyone that worked with me, all the commissioners, the clerk's office, administration staff. Thank you guys. A lot of stuff I couldn't do without your help. Crystal, appreciate your help. You did a lot that I had to poke you a little bit, but yeah, I got it done with you. And Donna, you and your assistant attorney, thank you guys too for keeping us straight for those 12 months. Thank you.
Wait, Commissioner. Well, let's give you a hand first. I think Commissioner Burrell is on the board.
Sure you want to take my compliment?
Go ahead. You know I always got a rebuttal on it.
No, I just wanted to commend Commissioner Johnson on his leadership role. No, we didn't always see eye to eye starting out. I was a new kid on the block, and I wasn't sure how to take him. But once you get to know him, you'll like it. The only other thing is, Mr. President, I want to make sure you didn't spend too much of that ARP money on that plaque that he got, because it looks mighty fine. Thank you, Mr. President.
I got bookends now, my second one.
All right, thank you, Linda. Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Does that conclude the President's report?
Let me just add one more thing. Ms. Frazier, I know you made reference to the Attorney General's opinion. I think there's probably a good chance the body will be asking for that. If so, I hope that you will do all you can to encourage them to speed that process along. You mentioned 4 to 6 weeks. I know that's out of your control, but I certainly hope they could give us an opinion in less than 4 to 6 weeks. But
We always request that it be expedited. That 4 to 6 weeks is usually what we get. If we get something other than that, we'll be happy.
They don't speed up.
But we will definitely request that it be expedited.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Carry on.
Okay, that brings us to the public hearings on zoning ordinances and cases. We do not have any zoning public hearings today. So we'll move along to public hearings on ordinances, where we have quite a few. Would you like me to read these and open one public hearing for all of them, or would you like to do these
If you would
individually?
read them all at once.
Okay, I'll do that.
Wait, I'm sorry, Commissioner Epperson's on the board. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, if I may, and that motion would be to delay all action items on today's agenda, with the exception of public hearing on all the items that are on the agenda today, and move the action items to a special meeting on or before our January 31st work session, if I can get a second.
Second.
What I want to, the reason for that, we know that we are dealing with the COVID situation. We've had Zoom meetings, we've had teleconference meetings, and we have had individuals here for some reason, whatever, not be able to be present during a meeting. And we have graciously forego a lot of things that was on the agenda until those individuals, based upon whatever their reasons for absences, not being here, could be here where they could articulate in behalf of their legislation. There are so many items on the agenda today that I think this full body needs to participate in. And also what this is a reflection as to some of the legislation that was passed that gave us the right to meet via Zoom. However, it hampered what we could debate and what we could actually put on the agenda, which I think was woefully incorrect. We never know what can happen. It could be an act of God that will keep us from coming here in this facility. Look at the devastation that happened in South Louisiana. Completely devastated. However, wouldn't it be in their purview or the right thing to do? They had no facilities that they could actually meet together via Zoom somewhere or some other social media means and take care of all of the business of their constituents. That's the nature of the beast where we're in today. Supreme Court meeting via Zoom. Congress meeting via Zoom, being able to vote. I think whatever the absence is today, I think the wealth of what we have on this agenda, I think it's imperative that every individual should be afforded the opportunity to debate and cast his or her vote, either up or down relative to this agenda. So I would ask for your support relative to that. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I see Commissioner Chavez on the board.
Thank you, Chairman. As the Chairman of Economic Development, I would request that you afford us the ability to at least vote on that bridge over the river that is pending our approval for those dollars for Caddo Parish. And I think it passed unanimously for introduction. I don't see why anybody here would contest that, so I would ask at the pleasure of Commissioner Epperson, before we vote on your motion, could we at least vote on that to get that done for Caddo Parish because of the time restraint? And
I'd like to hear the wishes of the body. That's the motion that I made. I'd like to hear from anyone.
Okay, so we've got Commissioner
if somebody else will
Chavez.
make the motion, then I'll give my time back.
Okay. I'm sorry, did you make a motion?
No, I did make one,
Okay.
as the chairman of economic development, I just wanted to put that
Well-
statement out there and request, if he would be acceptable to that. If not, then if one of my colleagues would make that motion, so we could at least take care of that.
Well, you can always come back on the board, but I'll save my thoughts. Yeah, I'd like to let some other people speak, and then I'll share my thoughts. Commissioner Hopkins.
I'd just like to make a substitute motion to allow us to consider the resolution today on asking for an Attorney General opinion, so we can at least get that moving, so we can maybe work to get this resolved.
Second.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure how to, well, go ahead, Commissioner. Well, we've got a motion and a second. Well, what I'm trying to do is open this up a little bit. I want to be respectful of issues that are controversial, but I want to move forward with as many things as we can that are not controversial. Now, maybe some things are controversial. Maybe one person's controversy is another person's no-brainer. But you know, I'm respectful of Commissioner Epperson's desire for representation at these votes, and I'm not trying to drive an agenda other than we have a 12-page agenda today, and I'm concerned that if we continue to push this back, that it'll just grow. And meanwhile, there are projects out there that people are waiting to address, and I hate to leave all of them hanging. And we have nearly a quorum today. It's probably as close to a quorum as we might get in the near future. So anyway, so those are my thoughts. I guess I've got to address your motion and second. Let's see.
That's what my motion is to.
All right, so we've got a second substitute motion from Commissioner Hopkins to
Vote on Resolution 9.
vote on Resolution 9. Okay. Do we call a vote on that now?
So I'm sorry, is the motion to vote on resolution, go out of order to vote on resolution 9 right now?
And go ahead and
To suspend the
vote
rules
on-
and vote on resolution 9?
All right, before we, yeah, all right, so we've got Commissioner Johnson on the board, or Jackson on the board.
I guess I'm trying to get a point of clarity here. Is the motion to vote on resolution 9 and just postpone everything? That's to the maker of the motion.
that was my
and
motion,
Postpone
yes.
everything else and to comply with Commissioner Epperson's deal. Because what I hear Commissioner Epperson saying is there's an issue of equal representation on a lot of these issues. And so making sure that there's equitable representation. And so if y'all are saying that we would postpone 9, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. Vote on 9, but you are going to vote in favor of postponing it until the special meeting, basically.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I was my clarification.
I'm sorry, I'm not finding Chavez.
Thank you, Chairman. Make a motion to also vote on ordinance number 6169 today. If I get a second, I'll explain.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is something that obviously the district commissioner of District 9 is here, but this is something that I think our prior president just got done talking about how well we work together, and that when it comes to big issues that we work for the whole parish. The economic impact of this within Caddo Parish is going to be huge, and this is on a strict time restraint, so I think it would behoove us to vote on this today for the betterment of the citizens in not only that area, but the entirety of Caddo Parish. So I wouldn't want to delay this. I don't see any reason why this should be bipartisan because it voted unanimously to get forwarded to this point. So I'd like us to see voting on this. And also together, I think we could all agree Attorney General's opinion is something that we would all like to see. So I don't see where it would be contested that we vote on that either. But I understand where Commissioner Epperson is saying that he would like the full body here for some things that may be addressed by the full body. So I'd be willing to vote on these two and then follow the lead of Commissioner Epperson's motion, if that's the pleasure of the body. Thank you, President.
Commissioner Jackson, are you back on the board?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a substitute motion to,
I think that was the last one you got to, substitutions, amendments to the original.
I can't understand you, Ms. Frazier.
That is you already have 2 substitute amendments to the original. Substitution and an amendment is the same thing. So you have an original motion by Commissioner Epperson, you have a substitute motion by Commissioner Hopkins, and then you have a substitute motion by Commissioner Chavez.
no, I thought you can have an unlimited amount of substitute motions. You cannot amend an amendment twice. You can substitute.
Basically, y'all have they're pretty much the same. They operate the same. And you've amended your amendment. So are you saying that there's another amendment to an amendment? And that's the last one as opposed to this one?
No, ma'am. I was suggesting that my thought process, and I could be wrong, is that substitute motions are different motions being made, and so you would vote on each motion, and whichever motion carried is the one of the day. An amendment provides changing the body or the context of something. So an amendment would basically say, instead of getting an AG's opinion, we would get a insurance commissioner opinion. So that was my understanding of the difference between a substitute motion and an amendment.
I think the difference being if a substitute motion fails, then a new motion needs to be made for it's substituted any previous motion. But if an amendment fails, the motion that's on the floor is still there.
Right.
So the amendment could fail, but then it would revert to the motion on the floor.
Right.
But that's actually the same as a substitute motion.
Right.
You take the substitute motions up first, and if they don't pass,
right,
you go back to the original motion. There is in effect no difference.
Right. So
you can do the subsequent motions whether you call it amendment or substitution twice. So now if we don't have the second one yet, I get that. But then that would be the last one.
All right, so we have the one substitute we have the original motion by Commissioner Epperson, we have the first substitute motion by Commissioner Hopkins, and we have a second substitute motion by Commissioner Chavez.
well, point of clarification. So I'm looking in our handy dandy Robert's Rules of Order here. It says there are different. I'm on page 4. It says there are different type of subsidiary motions that deal with the original main motion, such as postpone indefinitely. And then it says amend, which modifies something in the main motion before the assembly acts on the motion. The assembly must agree to amend the motion, then agree on the amendment before the amendment can be caught. And so my understanding of an amendment is an amendment and a substitute motion are two different things. My understanding is that an amendment would amend the issue. It amends the actual issue before us, not the motion before us. So the issue before us, for example, if we were just dealing with resolution number 9 with the Attorney General's opinion, an amendment would basically say, I want to offer up a motion to amend that, the AG opine on the commission acting as the Alcohol and Beverage Tobacco Commission or something like that. But a substitute motion provides an opportunity to do something completely different. And I didn't know that there was a limit on the number of substitute motions. I never understood that there was a limit on the number of substitute motions that could be had. I think we probably have a little confusion on substitute motions and amendments. Are they the same? Right. So I'm not sure. Thank you.
All right, so are you done, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, thank you.
All right, parliamentarian?
As parliamentarian, everybody should snicker now. It seemed to me, perhaps we should ask Commissioner Chavez, your motion sounded more like an amendment than a substitute motion. I don't remember how you described it. Did you say it was a substitute motion or an amendment to Commissioner Hopkins' substitute motion?
It wasn't an amendment, it was a standalone, so that I would prefer everybody vote on that and then his, in case they disagreed with his and liked money for Caddo
I
Parish.
see, so you intended yours to be a second substitute motion?
Correct.
Okay, well, my understanding is that you can only have 2 substitute motions at a time.
Okay.
So we would need to
All right.
not have any more until we voted on some of those.
All right. So let's move forward with Commissioner Chavez's substitute motion. Mr. Clerk, could you please repeat Commissioner Chavez's substitute motion?
His motion is to consider a vote on ordinance number 6169 today. And I presume it's implied that it postpones the rest of the agenda.
Correct, it's just we're just voting on this one right here.
So let me clarify. Is your motion to take the vote, suspend the rules and take the vote of ordinance number 6169 before any other agenda item? Like after the public hearing, you would vote on that?
Right.
And that's all you're moving?
Right.
You're not making a determination with this motion about what would happen to the rest of the agenda?
Correct, this is just to adopt this, and then I gave the maker of the other motion my support that I would follow suit to vote for his.
Okay, so that is, do we understand? It sounds like the motion is to suspend the rules and call up the vote on ordinance number 6169 following the closing of the public hearing.
Yes.
And as I am hearing it, that is the full motion?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what we're voting on.
Hold on. Would you have something?
What's that? With mine and then his and then his.
All right, so we are going to vote first on Commissioner Chavez's motion to, first we'll hear the public hearing, and then we will vote on ordinance 6169, and we will forward the rest of the agenda for.
Actually, we haven't made
have
it,
to have
his
public
motion
hearing.
doesn't make a determination about the rest of the agenda.
It makes no determination about the rest of the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
It leaves it unspoken.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, further information.
Yes, Commissioner Burrell.
That just confused the hell out of me. As a parliamentarian, Commissioner Chavez's substitute motion, and there was another substitute motion after that. His does not go before it.
You can only have 2 substitute motions.
Right. Well,
Commissioner
that
Hopkins
was
came
Mr.
first,
Hopkins at the second.
and then the most recent one is the one you take up first. The second one you take up before the first one.
I thought the last substitute motion is the one you take up first.
That's what I tried to say, and that's Chavez's.
Oh, you went after him.
The last shall be first.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you did go after him.
He went after Hopkins.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
And I stand corrected on the substitute motion.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I wasn't sure. All right, where are we now? All right, so we have a vote on this substitute motion, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, we should be ready for a vote.
It's a vote
Y'all
to
be
hear.
clear on this?
Is everyone
It's a
clear
vote
what
to
you're
hear.
voting on?
We can't vote to approve or disapprove until we have a public hearing on that issue.
Correct. So this is just to suspend the rules to take it out of order after the public hearings.
Okay.
Okay, so this is to suspend the rules, is what this vote is right here?
Essentially, this would just change on the order of your agenda to, you would continue with the public hearings. Once those are closed, you would take up a vote on this ordinance.
Okay.
I got a point of clarification.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
So,
Former President.
we're gonna hear the public hearing on all the ordinances that we got. That was Commissioner Epperson's first motion. All right, and then we're gonna be looking, after we do the public hearing, we're gonna go to the ordinance 61,
69.
whatever it is,
69.
dealing with the bridge. All right, and then after that, we're doing the resolution,
Yes.
and then we're done.
Everything.
And
That's
then-
correct. Everything else goes
His,
to the next.
I don't believe his motion covers all of that, but there
It
are some
does.
other
That's-
motions.
No, that's what he said.
No.
That's the intent of the motion.
I think it's,
That's why I wanted to
Attorney
get point of
let's let
clarification.
Attorney Frazier guide us on this one.
Okay, this is what I have written
And
down.
we take, if you're taking your mask off so we can, okay.
Yeah, this is what I have written down. It's my understanding that the motion, the original motion was, and it would have to include suspend the rules. And you all vote to suspend the rules and take up only, none of the final passage items after you have the public hearings. The first substitute motion is to do the same thing and postpone passing everything but the AG's opinion, the resolution. Then the last motion is to suspend the rules and postpone passage of everything but 6169 and the resolution.
That's right.
So it's my understanding, from my understanding, y'all need to decide before you go into your public hearings, which one y'all gonna do.
Okay.
So say that last one again.
The last one is to hear, is to postpone all your final passages, but the final passage of ordinance 6169 and the resolution on the AG's opinion.
Right. Which is the combination of all three.
No. That was Mario.
3 ways.
That was Commissioner Chavez's motion. The motion prior to that is the motion to postpone all your final passages, but the motion on the AG's opinion. They're different.
I got that part, but I'm saying his included Todd's and also Commissioner Epperson's. His motion included both of those.
But they're different because Commissioner Epperson's doesn't include a final passage on anything.
Right, but then it's got a substitute.
Right. You trying to confuse us. We got, come on.
You just confused.
All right, and of course, a vote against all these substitutes leads back to the original agenda.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
You got
ready for-
commission on the board.
Gosh.
Take me off.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, Mr. Clerk, we are voting on Chavez's substitute motion, which, read that one out for us, please.
It would be to suspend the rules and take up postpone all of the final action items except for vote on ordinance number 6169 and resolution number 9.
Yep.
Read all the,
After the public hearing. I don't know if I
Right.
said that. So,
All right.
You can ask the chair for clarification if you'd like.
Yes, Mr. Jones, Commissioner Jones.
Just making sure we're doing both of Chavez and Mr. Hopkins on this motion right here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
okay, and that motion does carry with, I believe it does, yeah, with 8 in favor, 3 in opposition, and 1 absent. So, at this time, would you like to open the
Yes,
public hearing?
let's open the public hearings.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Who's calling? Yes, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion at this time that we would also hear resolution number 84, resolution number 11. Do I need to put anything else on there? Resolution number 84 and resolution number 11 as well.
And they will be taken one at a time, just for clarity?
To be included in whatever we're gonna do with the others.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ken Epperson seconded. So we have a motion and a second to also consider action on Resolution 84 and Resolution 11. Any comments on that? All right. Well, let's vote on including that.
Okay, and that motion carries with 11 in support, 9 in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us, I believe, unless there's any other motions notwithstanding, we will go back to the opening of the public hearings.
Chavez, are you on the board?
I was to make a comment, but we voted, so just remove me.
Okay. We'll carry on. Public hearings.
And you'd like me to open this as by reading all items available for the public hearing and opening it as one for all of them?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first item that we have today is a public hearing for ordinance number 6155 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an additional appropriation for the Delta Upsilon Lambda Foundation and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. That comes from the Economic Development Committee. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6156 of 2122. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an additional appropriation for the Dress for Success Shreveport Bossier and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6157 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Public Works Fund and the Capital Outlay Fund in the amount of $107,000 and $500 to provide an additional appropriation to install welcome signs on I-49 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6158 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $5,000 to provide an appropriation for Friends in Unity and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item being a public hearing for ordinance number 6159 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $10,000 to reduce the appropriation for the Playas and Playettes Incorporated and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6160 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation of $109,000 to provide Caddo Fire District 7 with a part-time employee and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6161 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation of up to $30,000 for Red G Enterprises and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6162 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for counseling in public high schools in Caddo Parish and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item being the public hearing for ordinance number 6163 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Volunteers for Youth Justice for truancy and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item being a public hearing for ordinance number 6164 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Caddo Parish Juvenile Court and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6165 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund and provide an appropriation for ERAP housing quality inspections and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item being the public hearing for ordinance number 6166 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to roll over an existing 2021 appropriation for eviction mitigation into the 2022 budget and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6169 of 2022. That's an ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with Tim James Incorporated relative to construction of a privately owned tollway over the Red River pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 48:2037, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6170 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenue and expenditures for the Oil and Gas Fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation for relocation assistance and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6171 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an additional appropriation for Fit for Life Ministries and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item and the final item in this section is a public hearing for ordinance number 6172 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund to provide appropriation for housing projects and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Okay, so we now open the floor for any positive comments on, what's the word, any,
Public hearing is now open for public or
pardon?
Public hearing is now open for anyone against or for any
Thank
other
you.
ordinance.
Public hearing, the public hearing is now open for any comments for or against any of the items previously read. Is there anyone here to speak for any of the items previously read? Mr.
Good evening, everyone.
Bradford.
Mr. President, members of the commission, thank you for your time. William Bradford, Blanchard, Walker, O'Quinn, and Roberts, 333 Texas Street, Suite 700, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I'm here to speak on behalf and in favor of ordinance number 6169 of 2022. Of course, this is the Tim James Inc. project. We represent Tim James Incorporated, but also have had an opportunity to grow a friendship with this organization. This is a family-owned business from Alabama who's willing to invest upwards of $80 million or more into our community. We think that this will have a major regional impact, both in Shreveport and Bossier, and connect areas of our parishes that will monetize and grow our community. Again, this is not just a South Shreveport, South Bossier effort. This is something that we think will impact and have a major impact on all parts of Caddo Parish. We have been approved by the Bossier Parish Police Jury to move this project forward, and this is really our last step from a parish standpoint of approvals. We've gone before you several times, explained the outcomes we anticipate seeing, and of course, at this point, I want to stress now that we're under the constraints of time, we are now ready to move towards the construction and development. Of course, Tim James Inc. has incorporated and engaged Volkert, which is a preeminent engineering and design firm for this community. They intend to use local contractors in the design and development of this project and continue to invest throughout this community. And so we hope for your support today. We thank you for your time. We've had a great experience working with your staff, Dr. Wilson's office, the parish attorney's office, as well as engaging with each of you individually when appropriate. And so we appreciate your support today and hope to move this forward so that Tim James Inc. can get to work building more into this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford. Anybody else to speak for or against? Hello, Mr. James.
Good afternoon. Commissioners, thank you. And Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you for your time and consideration of our project. We're very excited, needless to say.
Please introduce yourself, Mr. James, just so everybody knows.
I'm sorry. I'm Tim James Jr., principal with Tim James Inc., and here on behalf of my family and our company. And but like I said, we are excited to be where we are today. We started coming over here to Shreveport, I was just asking Will, about 2 years ago, and have spent a lot of time here. I've really gotten to know the area and have had a really, really great working experience here in Shreveport and in Bossier. And we just look forward to the opportunity to continue that and to get this project going. Like Will said, we are kind of the last stop on approvals here with the parish. And so we, once that hopefully is approved, then we will start immediately to file permits, federal, state, local, all the permits that go with it. And we, expect that process takes about 18 months to do the permitting. And in the meantime, we will be working with local contractors and everybody to bring them in the fold and get them ready for the construction process. So I just want to thank you again for your time and consideration of this project. We really look forward to working here and working with each and every one of you and being a part of this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on behalf of any of the items read previously? Seeing none, we move forward. Mr. Clerk, how do you want to proceed?
So
we have
that
to
will-
close the public hearing.
You gotta do your opposition.
I've been asking for either for or against, but we will open up. Is there anyone to speak in opposition of anything read previously? Okay. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move on with the agenda.
All right. That brings us to ordinances for final passage. And again, pending your earlier modification to the agenda, we will take up the only ordinance that we have to take up today is ordinance number 6169. That is, so I will reread it real quick, and I'm sorry I'm flipping back and forth. So ordinance number 6169 of 2022 is an ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement with Tim James Incorporated relative to construction of a privately owned tollway over the Red River pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 48:2037 and otherwise provide with respect thereto in District 9.
Okay.
That is, by the way, item 13.13 on your agenda.
I see Commissioner Young on the board. Go ahead, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a couple questions for our administration about the CEA for the Tim James project. The first one is...
Point of order.
We don't have a motion or
Need to
second.
make a motion first before we discuss.
Oh.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
I'll yield my comments.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction, Commissioner Johnson. So I had two questions. The first one is in section 7.1 of the CEA, where it discusses the bond that's going to be purchased for the maintenance of the road. And it specifies that it needs to be rated BBB, triple B plus, or better. And I was just wondering where that rating specification came from.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Bernstein because he drafted. Is he not here?
And your question, sir, was?
In the CEA for the Tim James project, section 7.1, it says each bond required hereunder shall be issued by a surety authorized to do business in the state of Louisiana with a rating of triple B plus by Standard & Poor or better. Is that standard? Is it? It's much lower than the Parish Commission's own rating. I'm just wondering. Where you got that number.
That bond rating is still a high bond rating itself. You don't want to make it, the difficulty is that if you make that a higher rating, you're narrowing the number of companies that they can obtain it from. It's not the bond rating of the entity, it's the bond rating of the company issuing the bond. And so a BBB plus basically means that it's either the top of the BB rating or it is an A or better rating. So you're still talking about a very select group of surety companies to issue the bond that would be guaranteeing the parish that the maintenance would be done.
So does having a bond rating that's lower than our own bond rating or outside of the A range expose us to any additional risk?
No.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question was in section 11.1. This might be a good question for you, Attorney Bernstein, or for the administration. It says, developer shall, when practicable, maintain compliance with the parish's minority business and disadvantaged business enterprise standards. I just wondered if you could tell me briefly what those standards are and if they're normally practicable.
It's a goal, Commissioner Young, our goal is to try to reach 25% of our business with we don't call it minority companies, we call it disadvantaged and emerging businesses.
Okay.
And we try to encourage companies to deal with the folks who qualify with us under the category of emerging businesses. And yes, that's a goal, but it's not a mandatory compliance item.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a breach of this agreement to employ none?
No, sir.
I see. Okay.
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobo and approve ordinance number 6169 and the two resolutions that we added, resolution 84, three resolutions, I'm sorry, resolution 84, resolution 9, and resolution number 11.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to englobo and include 6169, resolution 9, resolution 11, and resolution 84. So engloboing all those together would lock them all together on one vote.
Englobo and adopt.
Yeah, englobo and adopt was the key language. Any comments on that? Commissioner Jackson, did you speak? Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution 84, I move to, as a friendly amendment, include Resolution 84 as amended on the agenda,
I'll accept
not
that.
the original version.
I'll accept that.
Thank you.
So now we have a motion to englobo and adopt 6169, 9, and 84. I'm sorry, what?
I believe he's referring to an amended version of 84. It's an attachment. It's some suggested amendments, I believe, that Commissioner Young had, but that had not been adopted yet.
These are, if I may, these are the amendments that Commissioner Epperson and I agreed after
Okay.
looking at the objections from some industry representatives.
Okay, so you're still engloboing, proposing engloboing and adopting these four, including the additional amended work. Okay. All right. Any other? Chavez, you have a comment? Commissioner Chavez, sorry.
That's all right. Is that a second substitute, or is that a first?
He made an amendment to this motion that was on the table. Ms. Frazier, is that?
That's a first amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, all right. So then I can make a second substitute. So my motion would be to vote on ordinance 6169 independently first.
Second.
Or now. Thank you. And I'll speak on that. Thank you for the second. I know there's some issues with the other ones that we have in that englobo, and rather than argue all day about everything, I'd rather just take this up, get this out of the way, and then take each one independently. And I think from a procedure standpoint, that seems the easiest for the body.
Yeah.
Thank you, President.
Okay, so we have an ordinance to take 6169 alone. It has a second. Any other comments on that? Jackson.
I'll defer.
All right. Let's call Epperson, Commissioner Epperson.
Well, shouldn't he have, his motion should have been to take each of the items that were previously motion made to vote in global, vote on them independently? Is he saying that vote on 61, 69, 59 first,
Yes.
69 first, and then in global 84 and 11?
No.
Well, that's what it would be if you should say we vote on, don't vote
Commissioner
on
Chavez, would
global,
you please
vote on-
clarify the intent of your
My intent is that we vote on 6169 now, and as the second substitute, obviously we can't make another one, so we take up this 6169 now.
Okay. We hear the resolution is to take up 61, or the motion is to take up 6169 now. I don't know if Jackson's back on the board or if that's an old one. But I'll call for the vote, Mr. Clerk.
Okay. And that motion carries with 8 in support and 3 in opposition. So we will go to a vote on 6169.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on that?
I'm on the board.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
I have a substitute motion to adopt, to englobo and adopt ordinance number 61, what is it, 6169? Resolution number 84, resolution number 9, resolution number 11, and to include the appointment of Mrs. K. Probert Waller to the commission, planning commission.
So you want to go, all right. We have a motion to go back to where we were previously.
I'd like to get a parliamentary call.
It's the appointment.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Ms. Frazier, where are we with the votes here?
That's a good question, Commissioner.
We got a parliamentary call.
What I have, and until we got to this last one, I had an original motion to adopt 6169. Then I had a substitute motion to adopt 6169, resolution 9, 11, and 84. And then I had the second substitute motion to remove 6169 from the englobo.
Okay.
Now that's what I had.
So we took a vote on the motion to remove 6169 from the englobo. So we took a vote on that item.
And to vote on it now.
And then after that vote, another motion was made to englobo.
Well, I think we should go ahead and vote on ordinance 6169.
You're the president.
And the parliamentarian agrees. So, Mr. Clerk, let's call a vote on ordinance 6169.
Well, I had a whole new motion on the floor. And
did you have a second?
yeah, Mr. Commissioner Epperson. That was a brand new motion because it added in. It wasn't the same motion. It added in Mrs. Probert Waller as the person. That's a brand, and nobody called for the question. So.
All right. So, I mean, we could go through this all day, and we all know what the objective is.
I think so. I think we should just get it on down the road.
Well, all right. So we've had a motion by Commissioner Jackson and a second by Commissioner Epperson to basically go back to where we were with the slight amendment that the good citizen has been added to the committee. I will speak. That's a proper motion and a proper second, but it is really gumming up the works, and I don't think we want to do this ping pong back and forth. So I would encourage us to vote against that motion and that second. All due respect to my two colleagues, but it is a proper motion. It's made properly. It's legal. So let's now have a proper vote on it and then move down the road. Right now, we're voting on Commissioner Jackson's motion to englobo 6169, Resolution 9, Resolution 11, Resolution 84, with the slight amendment that they were adding an additional character, an additional person to the committee. 84 amended, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Can you just clarify for me what we're voting on one more time? I'm sorry.
What we're voting on?
Yes, sir.
I understand. It's very confusing. All right. Commissioner Jackson made a motion a substitute motion, that we englobo and adopt Ordinance 6169, which is the toll bridge. Resolution 9, which is the Attorney General issue. Resolution 11, which is the Ford Street matter. Resolution 84 amended, which is an amended version of the oil and gas proposal from Commissioner Epperson. And then there was a slight adjustment to that to make it a new motion.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Yes, yes. All right, so we ready to vote
No.
on that? Chavez?
Thank you, President. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we vote to adopt 6169. If I can get a second.
Second.
Thank you.
And that's the same motion.
That's the same motion.
Negative. We're just voting on this by itself. This is my substitute motion to vote on this by itself.
It was the first motion, wasn't it?
That was already the first substitute motion, correct?
Well, if we are gonna have more than 2 substitutes on the same issue, we go back to where we started. You get 2 substitutes if you're gonna consider it a new issue. If you consider it a new issue, you're gonna get 2 substitutes on that as well.
Correct. She's correct.
I got you. So that was the first substitute to mine?
That's your first substitute, so be ready for the second.
All right, so we now have a substitute motion to,
Point of clarification.
who's,
That's me. I'm
Yeah.
doing one of Roy's right now. So, your motion is what?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine is to adopt 6169.
To remove 6169 from the in-global that was just proposed.
To adopt it. No, it's not to remove, it's just it's to vote on that. My substitute motion is to vote on just that piece.
Exactly, that's what, yeah.
But is your motion to separate it out and then vote on it, or is your motion to adopt it?
That's
to
the
adopt
same
it.
thing, because at this point, if you're voting on it, you're voting up and
Voting on
down.
it
We're on
independently.
final passage.
So my point of clarification is, are we also voting on the other things after we vote on this?
Yes.
On this one?
Yeah.
Because the way you mentioned it, it was just, we're gonna vote on that and that's it.
Right. That's the way parliamentary procedure works. This, then that.
all right.
But the way that you mentioned it, it was like we just gonna vote on this ordinance and exclude the resolutions. So that's why I wanted my point of clarification. Okay. I'm good.
All right, Commissioner Jackson.
I'd like to make a motion.
Point of
to-
order. Commissioner Lazarus hadn't spoken.
That's true. Thank you. Commissioner Lazarus.
But I had the floor.
Second.
But y'all had given me the floor.
I'm sorry, this was your
Wow.
second or third time, so. All right, so we had a call for the question and a second, which would then bring up, ordinance,
Call for the
Vote
question.
on
the
call for
motion
the
616. All right, so call for the question. And this is a call for the question.
And that carries, so call for the question carries, so we move on to the motion on the floor, which is to adopt ordinance number 6169.
All right, let's vote.
Okay, that motion carries with 8 in support and 2 in opposition. And that brings us to the next section on our agenda, which is Resolution 84 of 2021. That is a resolution to urge and request the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources to consider the negative impacts of oil and gas drilling in or near urban areas, implement rules to combat those negative impacts, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. As was previously mentioned, there is a second attachment on here. I'd like to make sure y'all note
Move
that.
to adopt as amended.
Second.
All right, we had a motion by Commissioner John Paul Young, thank you. And the second by, was it Commissioner Epperson? Okay, would you like to speak on your motion, John Paul?
Briefly, thank you. We have heard from many citizens that they want the regulations for horizontal drilling in our parish to be re-examined for urban settings. We've heard from business groups that the previous version was too strict, so we negotiated a less strict version to request consideration from the Office of Conservation. The decision lies with them. I don't want us to try to develop an expertise in oil and gas drilling and regulation here. It's not our job. It is the Office of Conservation's job, and it is our job to report our citizens' requests to the state government when they ask us, and that's why I'll vote for it. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Lazarus, is that you on the board?
Jackson.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I motion to englobo and approve resolution number 84, resolution number 9, and resolution number 11.
Second.
We had a motion by Commissioner Jackson to englobo and approve Resolution 84, Resolution 11, Resolution 9, with a second by Commissioner Jones. Would you like to speak on your motion, Commissioner Jackson? No. Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
Call for the question.
Second.
All right, got a call for the question and a second. Let's vote for call on call for the question.
Mr. Burrell?
I saw him push it.
It didn't log your vote, if you could.
Or try to push something.
Okay, and that motion carries with 9 in support and 1 in opposition. So the motion on the floor now is to englobo and adopt resolutions 84 of 2021, 9 of 2022, and 11 of 2022.
Okay. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
Mr. Chavez? Okay, that motion does not carry. It would need 7 to be adopted, and we have 6, it looks like, with 4 in opposition and 1 absent.
All right, so that does not advance.
Yeah, the englobo and adopt does not carry.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we take these one at a time at this point.
Second.
So we have a motion to take them one at a time with a second. I believe we can do that. Is that appropriate?
You actually
don't need a motion.
You don't need a motion
Okay.
to do that because
Okay.
that's the way it.
All right, we'll just
falls
take them one at a
under.
time. All right, let's take them by agenda. What do we have, Jeff?
Okay, the next item is, so the item that we currently have in front of us is Resolution 84 of 2021. That's the urgent request of the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources to consider the negative impacts of oil and gas drilling in or near urban areas, implement rules to combat those negative impacts, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
As amended? Okay,
Move to adopt as amended.
all right, so we have a motion to adopt as amended. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner, moved by Commissioner Young, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Burrell, or Commissioner Young, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to be on the board? Well, I'd like to speak. This is on Resolution 84, the oil and gas drilling, as amended. Thank you. I respect the position of our citizens who are concerned about oil and gas activity close to their residences, businesses, and churches. I respect Commissioner Epperson's wishes to protect his citizens. But I also want to see oil and gas continuing to operate in our community in a safe and effective manner. So I'd like to see us work proactively with the oil and gas drilling companies to address the concerns of the citizens. And I'd rather see us engage with them in direct communication as opposed to going through the Department of Natural Resources. So although I respect my colleagues' views on this, I'm gonna vote no. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, let's vote.
Okay, and that motion does not carry with 6 in support, 4 in opposition, and 2 absent.
Okay, that brings us to resolution
Number 9, which is a resolution authorizing the parish attorney's office to request an opinion from the Louisiana State Attorney General's Office regarding the authority of the Parish Commission functioning as a planning and zoning commission and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Young and a second by Commissioner Chavez to move to approve. Anyone on the board? Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
Okay, and that motion carries with 9 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us to resolution number 11, a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to consider the inclusion of Louisiana Highway 173 from Pierre Avenue to Hartman Street into its right-sizing program and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, a second by Commissioner Burrell to move and approve. Looks like we have Commissioner Chavez on the board. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Jackson, did you want to
I'll
speak?
yield.
Pardon? You
I'll yield.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I was sent this memorandum that was inter-office, and it was from March 3rd of 2022, and it was the parish legal requested information advised that this state asset, Louisiana Highway 173, which is 4th Street, is in the limits of the city of Shreveport, and that the Shreveport would need to assume it if they felt it necessary. I've heard the complaints of the citizens, and I hear them, and my district is riddled with bad roads in the city of Shreveport. So my only question is, and I love how diligently Commissioner Jackson has worked on this, and I'll provide a copy. I was sent this, but I think everybody got this. It was from the Public Works Director. Do we have any other state? Is there any other state highways within the city of Shreveport that we have adopted? We the parish. Dr. Wilson, have we ever adopted a state highway within the city of Shreveport?
Not to my knowledge, sir. The only road we had swapped was the road directly in front of the Juvenile Detention Center. We were trying to expand the parking, and we swapped roads with the state, and because we had to also swap roads with the state for the southern loop as well. Keena, am I right on that? Oh, okay.
So that just the one in front of the juvenile detention, that's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I just worry that we're opening up a can of worms if we're going to start adopting streets within the city of Shreveport that we, this body, now have to pay for with no funds that come from the city of Shreveport. And I think Commissioner Jackson's ultimate goal was to get this repaved. I see on this, the very last statement is, lastly, the parish could work with LADOTD to fund a pavement patch and overlay project in the worst areas. This could require an intergovernmental agreement to make it happen. So, am I understanding correctly that the parish, on behalf of all the hard work, Commissioner Jackson, from March 3rd, 2021, is willing to pay to pave that road that these citizens need, and that could accomplish what he's been working on without us having to adopt this road into our infrastructure?
You asked me a question, Commissioner Chavez?
Yes, Dr.
About my
Wilson.
legislation.
Yes. Huh?
About my legislation.
Should I refrain from answering it?
I'm just saying, he asking you something about mine.
I'm just, and commissioners, I'm holding a document that says the parish is willing to pay to overlay it.
Where is the document?
Commissioner Jackson has been the champion to overlay Ford Road. If I have this document that's saying that we have this accomplished, that it can now get overlaid with an intergovernmental agreement, and we don't have to adopt this street and forever maintain it, something we don't normally do, let's go ahead and overlay and get these people happy and move on. Commissioner Jackson's been working on this for obviously 2 years. For 5 years.
Yes.
So as much as I want to support what this piece of legislation says, I'm holding the ticket to get it done without us having to vote to put the expense on the parish taxpayers forever, and we're agreeing to do it. I say, can we do it? And let's move on. So
Yes, sir.
I can't vote for this in the essence that it says here when I have one of our public service directors saying, let's do it, and it's willing to be done, and these fine people that have come down here want it done. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Jackson.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on at the parish. There was a letter that was written, and y'all don't know about it?
Yes. Yes, sir, we know about it later.
Oh.
Yes, sir, we know about it. I think the letter was written to me. Who's it addressed to,
I've
Commissioner?
never seen the letter.
Yeah.
It's to Dr. Wilson from Director Timothy Weaver.
Yeah, and Commissioner Jackson, some of the contents of that letter was embodied in the letter that I gave this commission board on Tuesday.
I mean, I never seen that.
That letter was addressed to me.
So how did a commissioner get it and everybody else didn't get it?
No, but what I don't know. But what I'm saying to you is, the content of that letter is addressed to the letter that I sent to this entire board.
But a letter from a director is being used in a public setting where I have an issue or item on the agenda, and I've never seen the letter on an issue that I have. I would think out of courtesy that I would at least be copied on the letter.
Well, the letter was to me.
But
the letter was to me.
So how? I guess it just dropped into Commissioner Chavez's lap. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, how did he get it, or how did he know to go and get it?
I can't answer that question, but the question I can answer for you is some of the content what you read in that letter was embodied in the letter that I gave you all on Tuesday. You could compare it, and which we said we were willing to work out a way to help fund that.
Okay.
And then subject, Ms. Frazier and I had this conversation. She was going to look at the legality of it to make sure that we can do that, and she still has some research to do on that. Is that correct, Donna?
That is correct.
That's where we are.
Okay. I have Mr. David North. Mr. North, could you come up? Who is the LADOTD administrator who has endured this meeting. He oversees all state highways and roads in this region, this district. Mr. North, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
And thank you for being with us. You just saw us approve, without any questions, anything, a road in Southeast Shreveport where the parish is going to assume responsibility of that road.
Yes, sir.
And what a lot of folks have contemplated, pontificated on, is what's going to happen 50 years to 100 years from now on that road or at that bridge.
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to figure out, because nobody has articulated to me, what is the real difference between either of these? Infrastructure depreciates over time. And when I talked to you on yesterday, you quoted to me a quote from Robert Westerman, if they could participate in this right-sizing program, they'd make money off of it.
That's correct.
And so it seems like there's been a lot of fear tactics going on to scare people off in supporting this right-sizing program. Could you clarify that and actually what it is?
The right-sizing program has been used by sister city across the river quite effectively. That's why they got their downtown improvement.
Traffic Street.
Yeah. It's been used in other places.
Mm-hmm.
It is a viable thing. It also would afford for the parish control of that roadway, and for the city, which means that your maintenance and longevity of the road, maintenance decrease, longevity of the road would increase.
But and so is it my understanding that if the resolution to start this process, are y'all gonna give us a road tomorrow?
No, there are certain tenants that it's a negotiated contract between the state and the parish to turn the road over. And once that contract is fulfilled, the parish would take possession of it. In other words, the improvements to the roadway would have to be complete. It's not an all of a sudden thing. It won't be tomorrow.
Okay.
Under any circumstance, it would not be tomorrow.
And is it anything that y'all gonna force down our throat to say, look, take this or leave it? There's a negotiation process that goes on.
It is a negotiation
to make sure that the
process. There are
receiving
some
entity.
parameters. The valuation on the road as far as in reality, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have the normal maintenance funding for that road for a duration of time. It is a figure that is come up with in Baton Rouge that is done based on the cost of maintaining roadways, an engineered cost, and after it's for how many years the duration of the maintenance is done. You get it, it's lump sum, it comes in out of the highway transfer program or the right sizing program, and those credits can be used, it comes in the form of credits, and those credits can be used for other road projects within the parish, as long as DOTD approves it is in fact, and DOT is very generous in things like that. They have to approve projects that the parish wants to do or needs to do. And therein we reduce the amount that we have to take care of, and you get a good road.
So y'all not gonna hand us over a hunk of junk?
No.
Okay.
Oddly enough, even though our roads are not in the best of condition all over, we don't have any junky roads.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. North. And again, Mr. North
Yes,
is
sir.
the district administrator.
Any other questions?
Well, Commissioner Jackson has the floor.
Well,
okay.
And I sit here, and the argument has been we're gonna laden the tax. I'm done with you, at least for now. I don't know if anybody else may have any questions. And I've heard that we're gonna laden the Caddo Parish citizens with the burden of maintaining that road, but we just voted. We just voted, and you said it was an emergency that you do it. You text me and asked me, could you get a letter from the city of Shreveport? I got you the letter from Chief Whitehorn that says that they're.
Commissioner Jackson, who are you addressing, just so we know who you're addressing?
I'm talking after my motion.
Oh, no, but you said you're saying I asked you to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Chavez asked me to get him a letter from the city of Shreveport, and instead of holding my letter until today, I sent it to him because I hadn't seen this letter that he pulled out today. I acted in good faith, and I sent you the letter that Chief Whitehorn said that they're working to move those water lines to the sidewalk. And so I don't understand how are we okay accepting a road in Southeast Shreveport, but we're not even okay with having a conversation about a road in North Shreveport. And we don't immediately accept responsibility for this road. But I'm gonna read you, for those who didn't even read this project here, I'm gonna read you what it says in 8.2 of the cooperative endeavor. It says that the parish shall be responsible for the reasonable upkeep of the right-of-way located adjacent to the roadway, but in no instance is the private property abutting such right-of-way. Upkeep shall include, but not be limited to, mowing, litter abatement, and the cleanliness of drains and culverts. But remember, we don't clean the drains and ditches and culverts. But we're going to in Southeast Shreveport, and it says the parish obligation to maintain the right-of-ways shall begin with the completion of the project. But y'all led us to believe that we won't be obligated to do anything until 15 years after the thing is done. But this contract that we just approved says that we shall begin with the completion of the project. So as soon as that project is done, we're gonna be responsible for maintaining the right-of-ways. We're gonna be responsible for doing maintenance out there by that road. Then it says the developer shall have the right to regularly inspect the arterial roadway of the project. In the event the parish refuses or is unable to make timely repairs to the arterial roadways dedicated to the parish for public use as specified in section 8.1 above, the project following the expiration of the warranty period, the developer may make such repairs at its own cost and seek reimbursement from the parish. So we're going to be on the hook. Caddo Parish taxpayers will be on the hook for this maintenance. And everybody pondered on Tuesday what's going to happen 100 years when the bridge go out, but nobody pondered what's going to happen 100 years when the Red River Way Expressway bridge goes out. There's no equity in what we are doing. We're picking winners and losers. There's no equity. And it's a shame to sit down here and see us blindly support a similar project in one area, but don't even want to have the darn conversation so we can get to this point in my district. Y'all don't even want to get to this point in my district. Thank you.
Attorney Frazier.
I'm sorry, Dr. Wilson said what I said, that we were not responsible for the memo. We hadn't done any research on other options yet.
What did you just say?
Yeah, we can't understand you when you don't.
I'm sorry, I said that Dr. Wilson, as Dr. Wilson pointed out, we were not responsible, legal is not responsible for that memo, and we haven't researched any other options, so.
Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, I want to make a motion to postpone Resolution 11 to our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jones and a second by Commissioner Jackson to postpone Resolution 11. Anybody on the board on this issue?
The board cleared out? Is that cleared or that's?
No, that's current.
I'm sorry.
Except for
I'm
Attorney
talking
Frazier.
about on by Jones's motion. That's what we should be addressing now.
Yeah, I mean, so we have this second motion. Do we have any, so we got a motion and a second. Commissioner Jones, do you have any comment on that?
I believe this is what Commissioner Epperson was trying to avoid. We have issues that are important to everybody, and this one seems like it's pretty important. And I believe the full body needs to be here and present as we discuss this. So that's why I would like to postpone it to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, President. I just wanted to make a clarification that I received this letter when I got here in the chamber from staff, so I wasn't holding this to my chest, Commissioner Jackson. Just got this information. That's all. Thank
Showed
you,
me the
President.
integrity of administration on your staff.
Commissioner Burrell?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
I'm good.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson?
Call for the question on Commissioner Jones'
Second.
motion.
Second.
We have a call for the question by Commissioner Epperson and a second by multiple parties. We'll give Commissioner Chavez credit on that second. Do we have a vote on the motion and the second? Vote on the call for the question.
Call for question, yes.
This is a vote on call for the question.
Yes.
Call for the question.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, none in opposition, and 2 absent. So we will move to the motion on the floor, which is from Commissioner Jones, and it is to postpone resolution number 11 to, and if I could clarify, I believe, do you want to postpone that to the same meeting as the items from earlier, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and I think that Commissioner Epperson had stated to be postponed either to the next meeting or to a special meeting to take place before our next work session. Is that correct? Yes, okay.
That's right.
I just wanted to make sure that the intention was to do it at the same time. It sounded like it was, so I wanted to make sure. Okay, so that is the motion before you now, is to postpone that.
Call for the vote?
Yep.
Yep. Are we ready, Mr. Clerk?
Yes. Okay, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 absent, none in opposition.
Mr. President, may I get a personal privilege? You said staff gave it to you.
Jackson? Yes, you may have.
You say,
personal privilege.
who in staff, what staff gave it to you?
Can we discuss this after the meeting? I don't think with the cameras and everybody here, this is the time, the appropriate time.
Because I think that lacks integrity on whoever did that. And they didn't even come talk to me. And that just shows the respect and the spit in the face that staff spits in his body's face. That somebody wouldn't even come and say, Commissioner, here's a letter. That's not cool.
I guess the question I have, Commissioner Jackson, did Commissioner Chavez ask for any additional information that?
Let's take this.
Let's talk
No, no, but we on the record. We like transparency, though. No, we like transparency, Mr. President. We like transparency. And I asked for a moment of personal privilege. And I'm saying, did you?
We've given you the moment of personal privilege. We understand your point. We don't need to
No,
pass all this out.
Mr. President, I'm for transparency. And I just think that it's a it's a hit below the belt. If administration didn't if nobody asked administration for an additional letter, or Commissioner Chavez didn't ask for any additional information, how does staff just take it up on their liberty to pull somebody to the side and say, here, is that what we have come to? And is that what our politics has come to on this body? Because if that's the case, we talking about open a Pandora's box. We open a Pandora's box there. And I've disagreed with things up here before, but I've never worked with staff to undermine what somebody's trying to do. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, anything else on this agenda?
We have citizens' comments, late arrivals is the only other item we need to attend to today, where citizens are able to fill out a form and submit it.
The appointment?
Do we have any citizen arrivals?
I have not received any requests for public comment.
All right. Do we have anything else on the agenda beyond that?
We do not.
Did we postpone the appointment?
Second.
What?
Did we postpone the appointment?
Yes, Commissioner Jackson, that postponed along with the other items as part of
We've
Commissioner
had a
Epperson's.
motion to adjourn and second, and I think it's by acclamation. We're adjourned. Thank you. Oh, boy, that was a...
Smack that gavel.
Hit the gavel, man. Yeah, wham.
Thank you.